What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot Rico. It's Rico and Bot on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a Friday afternoon, powered by BetUS. Good to have you in. Rico is on the road. I'm at home, and it's Friday afternoon with plenty to talk about, including a massive development out in New York where former Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator and former Buffalo Bills assistant GM are dealing with a major departure. We have a lot of playoff situations to talk about now that the New York Times simulator is out, Rico. And we'll also talk about what we saw last night between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. How you feeling, brother? How is the trip going so far? Ultimately, how do you feel about doing shows in other spots, by the way? Does that bug you?
I'm not a fan of it because, I mean, you can tell that I don't have my audio right. I don't got anything right. I just came bare bones. But, you know, maybe this was a trip for personal reasons. I got to come visit mom, granny, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And we're handling business, bro. We're handling business. And there's a whole lot of NFL chat we got to get through. J.J. Watt throwing shots at Dan Orlovsky. What's up with that? There's several things that we got to talk about today. Where we want to start? I mean, we could definitely start Thursday night.
Start here, I guess. Apparently, I'm shaking the entire apartment with my "What is up, Buffalo Fanatics?" My patented "What is up." You know, that was a mellow one, though, Rico. It's not like we just came off of a W, Caroline. So the neighbors can chill. I don't know how they haven't called somebody yet, though. If they didn't call anybody after that Chiefs game, Rico, then I got a feeling I'm going to be safe, because if they didn't call then they're never calling. You know what I mean?
Hold on. Your apartment. Do you have like a rug on the ground that says "Go Bills," or there's some kind of something kind of, you know, depicting that you are a Bills fan?
So I had a doormat that was a Bills doormat for 2 years, and it showed that it was there for 2 years. And I came home. When did I come home? I came home from my brother-in-law's bachelor party a couple days ago to find that Caroline had not only replaced the Bills doormat with a Christmas-themed doormat, she had thrown out the Buffalo Bills doormat.
Caroline.
So no longer do we have any Bills signage in front of the house, which is just
the betrayal. Just to toss it out like that without even a conversation.
Listen, you get married, Rico, you got to have conversations about things like this.
Caroline backdoored you. That's not cool. Caroline, that's not cool at all.
She garbage doored me. She took it down to the garbage chute down the hallway and said sayonara. Speaking of saying sayonara, Rico, the Pittsburgh Steelers might have said sayonara to the division last night. After that massive loss to the Cleveland Browns, there is a new favorite in the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens are now minus 140 to win the division. Mind you, the Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off of a W less than a week ago against these Baltimore Ravens without scoring a single touchdown. That had given them a 2-game lead in the division. Then they go and blow it in a whiteout, a storm in Cleveland. Massive upset. I would argue it's a massive loss for Pittsburgh for what you're seeing on your screen right now, the divisional odds. I would argue it was a massive win in a bad way for Cleveland in terms of how tight it is right now at the top of the draft order. By the way, if you want to get in on these odds, I still think Pittsburgh, I mean, at plus 110, I don't hate that at all. Both the schedules of the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers are tough towards the end, and they do have to go head-to-head. So if you're still liking Pittsburgh, YouTube 150 is the promo code on BetUS. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, and 125% bonus on your next two after that. You're watching that last night, Rico, and then you kind of coincided with what you said a minute ago. So Dan Orlovsky had come out and kind of made a point on how the Steelers couldn't win football games in the fashion, essentially, that they've been winning them in. He said that you can't win games only scoring field goals, despite the fact that they just beat probably the third best team in the AFC without scoring a field goal, without scoring a touchdown, only scoring field goals, a divisional rival, their most bitter rival, arguably, in the Baltimore Ravens. And then they go and lay an egg on Thursday Night Football to Jameis Winston. You're watching that. Your takeaway from that one, because, man, the way Pittsburgh's schedule lines up towards the end of the year, you can't afford to have a game like that, and that's exactly what they just put on display.
This is why you cannot take any game for granted. You can't just come in thinking you're just going to take this game and that's just going to be it. Division games are division games for a reason. We know you well. We play you twice a year. We know everything about you. The AFC North is not one of the toughest divisions in the league for no reason. There's reason for it. And listen, there's so many things to factor into this. How poorly run the Cleveland Browns are. And by poorly run, I'm referring to the one move that has set them back so far with bringing in Deshaun Watson. And now he's out. You owe him all this money. And then you find out, listen, there was a crazy stat. From week 1 to 7, the Cleveland Browns did not throw for over 200 yards, not once. Since then, they've thrown 5 200-yard plus games. He has been abysmal. So when you look at the Cleveland Browns, had you went to that move sooner, this whole division could be shaken up. That's a good defense. The Cleveland Browns possess a great defense. All you need was competent quarterback play. And now that competent quarterback play is now just ravishing the AFC North. Jameis Winston takes down the Ravens. Jameis Winston takes down the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who else is his brother going to take down?
That's unbelievable, man. If 3 wins on the year, 2 of them are against 2 of the teams that were vying for a 1 seed not that long ago. 2 of the teams that will surely be playoff contenders come January. That loss last night, and look, it was an odd game in the sense that Cleveland was dominating it. Then all of a sudden, Pittsburgh has the lead, and then Pittsburgh blows it. That game wouldn't even have been an L in the right side of the win-loss column for Pittsburgh had they just been able to punt the ball correctly at the end. The elements certainly had a factor in that game. Usually, in circumstances like that, you feel like they favor Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. They always win games like that. And they wound up blowing it last night. They got the lead when you could argue it didn't feel like they really deserved it. They got that fumble. Then Russell Wilson, beautiful touchdown pass. They take the lead. Shanked punt. If that was a normal punt, putting them down inside their own red zone, I don't know if Jameis is going the length there, but they wound up starting it around the midfield mark. And credit to Jameis Winston, man. They went all the way down, got in the end zone. And the way that this AFC playoff picture is kind of panning out in the AFC North, the reason I brought that up earlier is because it's probably the most intriguing division right now in the AFC in terms of how tight it is at the top. And that loss last night for Pittsburgh, when you factor in who they have to play at the end of the year here, there was talks going into that game about how do we feel about Pittsburgh? Are they fraudulent or are they legit? To go and do what they did last night, Rico, was a terrible moment to find a way to completely crap the bed.
I wouldn't call them fraudulent. I think they're still a good team. It's just that every year, every team has this one game that they lose where you're like, what? How and why? And I'm still kind of like, I feel very confident in these Bills, but every year the Bills lose to a team where you're like, oh, and I don't know if it's happened yet. Losing to the Texans, some folks had us losing to the Texans. If you watch the game, you're like, we kind of gave it away, right? We got beat down by the Ravens other than that. But like, we've got some games. Like, we could easily go ahead and lose one to the Patriots for crying out loud. But by then, you'll hope that it's all locked up and we got what we need out of that. But it's just an odd situation to be in. But to call the Pittsburgh Steelers fraudulent, no, they got caught slipping. Myles Garrett had a lot to say. Sometimes you just got to keep your mouth shut, TJ Watt. Sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut. You made my man upset, and he had 3 sacks in the first half. You got to just keep it quiet, man. Sometimes leave. What's the saying? Leave a lying bear, or don't poke something about a lying animal. Don't wake him up because
essentially, yeah. Don't poke. I think it's don't poke the bear, right?
I know there's don't poke the bear. There's another one about a lying animal. Don't wake him up. Yada yada.
Don't poke him either. Don't poke him either. I would argue. Don't poke that damn lion. And I think that right now it's a bunch of poking back and forth in that division. My whole take on that thing was I've always viewed Pittsburgh ever since Roethlisberger left. They've had this identity that I think has been the same regardless of who's been at quarterback. That's a team come January. Now, last year was different for Buffalo because TJ Watt was not available. He was injured. That team, if you go and look at their record with and without TJ Watt, you could make a very, very sound argument. He might be the most important non-quarterback in the NFL. They didn't have him last year. And then you're starting Mason Rudolph in a playoff game. It was a different circumstance. But my take on Pittsburgh right now, that's not a team that I'm like, if I'm looking at the playoff situation, which we're going to take a look at in a minute here, I'm not begging to have Pittsburgh come to town. I'll tell you that. The way that they play defense, Russell Wilson seems to have that deep ball back. They're playing, the whole take on them not being able to score points, I thought was a little bit dramatic because the 4 weeks prior to that Ravens game, they had scored 26 plus points. I don't know the last time that Pittsburgh's done that. I'd have to look it up. But I doubt they've done that since Roethlisberger retired. Right. And I'll also say this. I don't care if you score 4 safeties to beat the Ravens. You're going to take a win against that team who plays offense as good as anybody in this league any way you can get it. Pittsburgh can win in a multitude of different ways. That's why last night to lose to Cleveland, man, I can't get over that one, especially at this stage of the season. You cannot be doing that in the situation that Pittsburgh's currently in within their division.
That's why every circumstance, every game that you prepare for, you have to prepare for it all, right? Prepare for the elements, right? We now are in, what's the Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Detroit, they're all in the
God,
you know what I'm talking about.
Somebody will know it.
This should tell you what I'm trying to say here.
Geography and me, we have opposite ends of the magnet propelling each other. I don't know dick about that. But you catch what I'm saying.
You guys are all in this circumference of like bad weather, right? Yes. This area of bad weather that comes your way. I know there's a term for it, but somebody in the chat is smarter than we are. That you guys let us know. But like, you got to prepare for those things. You got to prepare that Jameis Winston is not Deshaun Watson. You got to prepare that these guys have Nick Chubb now. Nick Chubb changes the trajectory of this offense. Ford is Jerome Ford is a good back, but he ain't Nick Chubb. So you got to prepare different. And then now the snow comes in, you're on even field. And then you have guys like George Pickens saying, if not for the weather, we would have. Well, the weather's there. It affects you. It affects me. It affects everybody. What can you do? This tells me how versatile you are. Jerry Jeudy looked like he was more versatile than you, and he's a Florida boy. Man, cut the crap. Y'all took the L, and that's what it is. The snow belt. Thank you very much, by the way, Videsh. I think it's called the snow belt.
I don't even know. Honest to God, I literally know so little about that. No, we're getting confirmation from Gordon here. I'm so bad with that type of stuff. You're just telling me. It's like that Trump meme. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. You're just telling me for the first time. Like I honest to God, if you had a gun to my head, you'd probably have to kill me. I don't think I would have been able to guess it. Speaking of divisions, I found this incredibly interesting. So we're going to get into the New York Times simulator here, which is up, by the way. This is when we're getting into that time of the year when the New York Times simulator becomes prevalent and you're messing around with it. Now it's so funny. It used to be, man, how do we take that 16% chance to make the playoffs and turn that into a 100% chance? That's what I used to do on that thing. Now it's a whole different ballgame. We're going to be messing around trying to see how we can get the Bills to the 1 seed. But as I was looking around on there, Rico, The Athletic did 10,000 different game simulations.
Damn.
And then they use that to determine what they think the outcome will be at the end of the year. But they also did it on a week-to-week basis. So you could see from the beginning of the year up until right now how things have progressed, how things have changed. And I found this to just be, not that it's anything that would shock anybody, but just found it, one, hilarious, and two, I think it's a perfect example of being able to prove how doubted these Bills were. I think when we're sitting here now at 9-2, it's easy to say, well, yeah, it's Josh Allen and the Bills. No. Okay. 2.5 months ago, you had 85 to 90% of people telling you that this team was going to fall off of a cliff, that the New York Jets were going to be the second coming of the greatest show on turf, and the Miami Dolphins were going to be a step below that, but a step above Buffalo. So within these simulations, here you go. Before week 1, the percentile, or the percentage rather, to win the Super Bowl. Already, I'm all over the place. Let me rephrase that. Before week 1, they came up with the percent chance for each team to win their division. Okay. The Jets had a 35% chance to win the AFC East. The Miami Dolphins had a 31% chance to win the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills had a 28% chance. Going into week 12, the Bills are the only team in the league who have a greater than 99% chance to win their division. Right now, the Bills are over a 99% chance to win their division, with the Jets and Dolphins having less than 1% of a chance to win it. I thought that was just so poetic, because if you needed one bit of visualization in terms of we're still here, it's that. Because the narrative, Rico, we soon forget 2.5 months ago, it was not what it is today at all.
It's a whole different ball game, man. That's why you play to win the game, right? You hear all those things like all this, and I get it. It's the off season, so you got to speculate, you got to talk about this, you got to build up hype, and there is a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype for the New York Jets. They're finally getting their quarterback back. They're gonna do big things. Tua's gonna be healthy. He's got his two Lamborghinis right next to him, and Waddle and Tyreek, and they're going to be doing this 18 touchdowns or 20 touchdowns from Mostert last year. There's a whole lot of speculation. They're finally healthy. The Bills lost this and lost that. Bro, go back and look at your key contributors and find out who the best in the league are. Go look at Josh Allen and compare him to those two quarterbacks. Bro, this is a new game. This is a new age, man. Like, this guy's a top dog in this. And to count out the Bills because they lost a couple players, what, like this team doesn't circle around Josh Allen? Oh, we circled around Diggs and Davis? Are you kidding me? We circled around Mitch Morse? Bro, we were trying to push Mitch Morse up 2 years ago. So let's cut it out, man. When you got 17, you in it. So all this chatter was all just to kind of build up. And it did. It built up a whole lot where people were saying, you know what? Let me put my life savings on the Jets winning the division. Right?
Oh, God, no, not that. No, should not have done that.
Well, this is the thing. These are the things that people were doing. Oh, I love the Miami Dolphins fans were gung-ho about how great they were going to be. Ask my man Smokes how he talking about. By week 4, this man was ready to pull out his already pulled out hair. Come on, fam. Like, relax. Don't forget who your daddy is, right? 17 is your dude, right? Don't play with us. Don't play with us. This is where it's supposed to be.
To your point, this is where I have to disagree with Walter here, where he's saying the only issue in knocking these early projections is that it's a bit disingenuous when you consider that those predictions didn't factor us getting Cooper. Well, I love you, but if you think Amari Cooper had a 60% difference in the Bills' odds to win the East, I can't agree with you on that. My biggest thing, and it always was this well before the Bills got Amari Cooper, it wasn't necessarily what the Bills had. To me, it was just what the Jets didn't have and what the Miami Dolphins have been unable to prove that they have. The Dolphins seem to have it. They can't cash in on what they have. And when I watch a team last year with a 3-game lead on these Bills piss it away and then do so to them in the final game of the year, I can't have any respect for you coming out and doing it again the following year. And then with the Jets, longest playoff drought in the league, and I'm supposed to all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers, 40 years old off of an ACL tear, I'm supposed to just immediately assume that team deserves the best chance to win the division. Amari Cooper has certainly helped this team, but the Bills, they were already, they beat the Jets without Amari Cooper. And at that point, Robert Saleh had already been fired, and the Jets season was already in complete disarray. That was well before the Bills even got Amari Cooper. So it felt like after the Bills beat the Jets, it was smooth sailing from there. Now, of course, the addition of Amari Cooper has made everything seem more plausible for these Bills in terms of heading into January with an offense that you are confident has the weaponry to be able to compete with the best of them. It just gives you that overall confidence that I think the Bills were lacking. It gives you that extra piece that they certainly needed. And if you've seen when he's out there, the difference that he brings. Walt's coming back in and he's saying, what projections are we talking about specifically? Because I'm speaking more in general, which was we would be a better team. Oh, I'm speaking strictly to the odds, or we wouldn't be a better team. Yes. I'm speaking strictly to the odds of winning the East. So like I just mentioned, these simulations that The Athletic did where they ran like 10,000 different game simulations. Prior to week 1, in those simulations, the Jets had a 35% chance to win the East. The Dolphins had a 31% chance. The Bills had a 28% chance. And then 12 weeks later, the Bills now have a 99% chance. So to me, it was almost always more about what the other teams weren't than what the Bills weren't. If you're going to give me those teams lined up, regardless of personnel, but strictly give me the quarterback, I'm putting my money on Josh Allen. And it always just felt like in a year where you're not supposed to do what you do, doesn't that always seem like that's when people start to do stuff, at least guys that are built for the limelight, right? Like Jaden Daniels, for instance, this year, the Commanders weren't supposed to be anything. Caleb Williams was supposed to be the star of the show. He's that dude. They're out there balling. Last year, Houston Texans weren't supposed to be anything. CJ Stroud, he's that dude. Goes out and balls. Yeah. Now, those are different examples, of course, but when I'm looking at this division, Josh Allen is so leaps and bounds ahead of any other quarterback within the division. It was so hard for me to believe that any other team could pass them, especially when I'm considering a Dolphins team that is incapable of beating Buffalo and a Jets team that's incapable of getting out of its own way. So even with the Bills moving off of the guys that they did, it just never felt like, to me, my concern with this, Rick, I don't know where you were back then.
Okay.
Back then as in 2 months ago.
Yeah.
My concern was more, is this team a Super Bowl contender? My concern never really was, are they an AFC East contender? My brain never really went there.
I would agree, because when we look at what we lost, because this is where you can actually now come in and say, well, what are the Bills going to do because they lost XYZ? Those XYZs were contributing factors to the Bills not just getting into the playoffs, but going beyond that. Can they compete for a Super Bowl? Then you can talk about, I don't know if they got it. But I feel like the disrespect was more so them counting out Josh Allen. I think that's what it was. Josh Allen won't be able to do what he was able to do with Diggs, Davis, blah, 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 and the list can go on, right? And I said it, I think, a year and a half ago. I said, we're about to find out if, and I felt this, if Josh can be the Tom Brady-esque type player where he won't need a big-time name and player to go far into the playoffs and go far and win things, right? Because Tom Brady, if you think about it, he had Randy Moss as his big-time name, but like there was never anybody else that was like a superstar. There were no superstars other than Gronkowski. That was it. And that Randy Moss, for the year that they had Randy Moss. That was it. He was always dealing with good players, but because he was elite, he was able to make everybody great. And I think this is what Josh Allen's doing right now. Right now, you don't have any elite receivers on the squad. Some might say Cooper falls into that category. Some might say he doesn't. That's up for debate. But I felt like they disrespected Josh by counting him out. And I think this is where you see that he's like, okay, well, I got to step my game up a little more. There's little things that I got to do on my side, but don't count me out. And he's proving it now. We're 9-2. Stop counting the boy out, man. He's nice like that. He's elite like that. And that's why the Bills pay him what they pay him. And they grabbed him where they grabbed him because they felt that he could be the franchise that leads us and takes us to Super Bowl. And we're trending in that direction, which is great news. So it's great news for us. It's bad news for the rest of the teams that are technically in New York, Rico. This past week, and it hasn't been good for these guys all year long, but it just continues to avalanche. We'll start with the Jets that we were just talking about being the team that was supposed to win the East here. They had the best chance to do it, according to the simulator we're about to dive into. Not only did they fire Robert Saleh real early in the season, he's been gone for a while now, they went and did the next step that was inevitable, but they wound up doing so in the middle of the season as well. GM Joe Douglas fired this past week. What a disaster. It's an absolute train wreck, and we're going to talk about the other train wreck that happens to share the same facility as these New York Jets in a minute here. But this particular train wreck, to me, is all time. This Aaron Rodgers experiment is truly all time. You could almost teach it in a college course as to like what not to do in order to completely ruin a business. Because whatever they did, if you just do the opposite, it seems like you'd probably have success.
it was just an unmitigated failure from top to bottom. And look what it's resulted in. Now the firing of the GM. And look, the crazy thing about this firing to me, there's two things, actually. The Robert Saleh firing to me, I didn't agree with it. I thought it was ridiculous when they did it. Robert Saleh, to me, did not feel like the problem heading into that Bills game after they just came off a loss to Minnesota where Aaron Rodgers had 3 interceptions and a pick 6. So they fire Robert Saleh as the scapegoat coming back from London. That defense has not been the same since he left, and that was his specialty. Now we're fast forwarding to this firing. The Jets have drafted well. The Jets have built that team well, it felt like, but they completely mortgaged the whole thing for Aaron Rodgers. Now, granted, you couldn't get the quarterback right in the draft, and that's the biggest thing you got to land. And Zach Wilson was a failure as well. So you understand that there's certainly a cross to bear for Joe Douglas here. But he certainly wasn't the one that completely on his own went rogue and brought in Aaron Rodgers. And it felt like that team, in terms of the youth and the talent they had, was being built the right way. And that's what's the craziest part about all this to me, is that they completely detonated their own building, so to speak, where they built it up and it was starting to come together. And then they just completely burned it to the ground. And now you're seeing the two most important members of a organization's front office be gone within 1 year of Aaron Rodgers being the starting quarterback of this team.
It's disappointing because I'll tell you this: hearing Joe Douglas get fired, released, whatever you want to call it. Owners, stop meddling. Stop meddling. Give your opinion here and there, but let the football people do what they do. Now I get it. In the several years that he was the GM, they got a record of 30-84. Okay, they haven't had a winning season since, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I get that part, but he brought the right groceries to the team, and I guess the nucleus between Douglas and Saleh, maybe that combination didn't work well. But it's not like Joe Douglas didn't do a great job of bringing good talent in. I mean, there was a list of the guys that he's drafted and brought to this team that I'm looking for right now, and it's unbelievable. Jermaine Johnson being one of them. Obviously, Breece Hall being another. Their receiver,
Sauce Gardner,
Quinn Williams, receiver in Garrett. You got this guy brought a whole bunch of talent. This might sound like a hot take, but if Brandon Beane is able to give this guy a call, like, yo, you want to come work for us over here? Bro, bring Joe Douglas to the Bills in some capacity. At some capacity. The Jets are like Woody Johnson, bro. It's a mess over there. And now you're in a position now. What do you do with now this conversation? Do we bring Aaron Rodgers back? Do we not? What do we do? You don't bring Aaron Rodgers back. You just brought in Devontae Adams. Now what you do with Devontae Adams? You're gonna try to release him? What an absolute mess. I thought the Browns were in a bad position. I thought the Panthers were in a bad position. Bro, the Jets. How do you replace that? So what GM is now going to come in now and say, okay, shit, how do I fix the situation? What am I going to do with my quarterback? Well, I don't really like Aaron Rodgers. I can't stand that dude. Right now, you got to come in.
Yes.
So
no, I was just going to say, to your point, no one wants to go to that organization if he's there. No one would want. Why? How could you? How could you? That'd be like almost saying like someone would be like, oh, hey, you got to come and you got to come babysit for my kids, but my kids are in charge, by the way.
And I'll tell you this. So you go in there as a GM, Z-Bot, you're qualified. You come in there and you lay out your plan, because every GM is going to come out there and lay out their plan on how they're going to fix and mitigate this situation that is a dumpster fire in New Jersey, right? Woody Johnson's sitting there saying, pitch me. Let me see what you got, because I need this fixed ASAP. The fans are restless. But you know what I mean? Richie's losing his mind as a content creator. All these things are happening. But you got to keep Aaron Rodgers. Bro, what do you do as the GM? You know what? Forget it.
I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm updating my LinkedIn profile, because I'm not taking that job. I'm looking for another gig. There's no way I'm taking that job. And any coach worth the I mean, that's what is it any secret right now why we're hearing Rex Ryan rumors back to the Jets? I mean,
He's pitching
honestly,
himself.
Rico, sign me up right now. I mean, I can't get enough of this carnival that's going on in East Rutherford, and that would be one more main attraction. And don't get me wrong, Rex Ryan's great. I'm a big fan. But when's the last time Rex Ryan coached? 13 years ago? 10 years ago, whatever the hell it was. To his credit, the last time the Jets were any good was when he was their head coach, so I'll give him that credit. But the fact that that's even being uttered, that's because Bill Belichick wouldn't go there if you paid him $2 billion annually. I'll tell you that right now. There's no chance in hell.
In a way.
Mike Vrabel, no way. I think Mike Vrabel's way too good of a coach to disrespect himself like that and go to the New York Jets.
You don't think Vrabel will take that job?
I don't think I wouldn't.
I'm great defensive pieces on that team.
See, that's the problem. No, but this is all contingent on the quarterback position, right? This is my point. Like, I'm not taking that job if Rodgers is there. I'm not doing it because I just got a year's worth of a lesson here as to why I'd want to stay as far away from that as possible. Everybody around that situation got canned or is going to get canned. Everyone around that situation has not progressed their careers any further this past season. And I'm supposed to be the one to come and pick up the mess while also probably being blamed for continuing to make a mess if he's still around. The only way I would take that job would be if I had, control of the upcoming quarterback situation. And if that's not on the table, I would be out.
That's the big thing. So whoever comes in as GM has to have a plan on what they're going to do at the quarterback position. Do you keep Aaron Rodgers, that's 39 years of age, pushing 40, and say, you know what, the experiment was great. He's just not the same quarterback anymore. As much as his mind thinks he's there, physically he's not, and the evidence is on film. You can't tell me he didn't have receivers because he did. You can't tell me that he didn't have a run game because he does. So what the heck's the problem? Is it the quarterback? That's what you got to decide. Now here's the thing, right? I'm looking at Joe Douglas's picks that he's made in his tenure with the Jets, right? So his hits and misses: Will McDonald, hit; Joe Tippmann, hit; Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, Alan Verdon Tucker, Michael Carter, the defensive back, hit.
And by the way, to your point, I keep seeing in the chat, everybody's saying, well, Joe Douglas's job, anybody could have done it. Picking in the top 10's easy. Did the Bills ever capitalize on any of their top 10 picks throughout time? You ask the New York Giants, who we're about to talk about in a second, if they've capitalized on their top 10 picks. I mean, it's not as easy as it seems.
Don't. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because don't think that it's just easy to pick one, because there's some franchises that made some very bad picks. I.e., talk about the Panthers. They've set their franchise behind by picking. It might be too soon to talk about Bryce Young, but if they had a chance to redo, they ain't picking Bryce Young. I can tell you that right now. So you're right, Z-Bot. You can't just say anybody can pick in the first round. Can you? Can you? I mean, look, you can name up a whole bunch of teams that have misfired in the first round. Some folks might say the Bills picking, going back into the first round to pick up J.P. Lossman. Terrible decision. Shouldn't have done that. But it's the first round. Anybody can do that. Can they? Right? Picking Sammy Watkins. Some people hated that. But yeah. I mean, there's only so many things you can do, right? Zach Wilson, would you consider that a miss?
Of course. Generational miss.
All right. Zach Wilson, Mekhi Becton hasn't fallen for them. Denzel Mims, receiver. Elijah Moore. They traded Elijah Moore. Denzel Mims is not even on the squad anymore. Michael Carter, the running back, they moved on from him as well. Jabari Zip, there are some misses and some hits, but at the end of the day, it's a tough gig. It all starts with the quarterback. What do you do with Aaron Rodgers? The question is this too: is there a respect factor that you have to consider, or do you look at it strictly from a business standpoint? If you're looking at this position, are you saying, I respect you, you put a lot of work in the game, you're a future Hall of Famer, et cetera, et cetera. Let me try and see if I can fix this? Or are you like, bro, it's over. You had a great career. I'm moving on. Good luck. You're out of here. What are you in that position where it's strictly business, or do you look at the accolades of what this player has brought to this league, and do you just say, maybe I can fix it one more year?
Hell no. What has he brought into my organization? What do I give a damn what he did for the Packers? What do I give a damn about any of that? The chat, by the way, awfully combative right now. I want to clarify my point. I'm not saying Joe Douglas is a Hall of Fame general manager. I'm saying I don't get why you're firing him in week 12. That's my whole point. Joe Douglas isn't the problem in week 12 for the New York Jets. Joe Douglas isn't the reason why they're losing games the way that they are. It's the overall incompetency of this organization that extends far beyond Joe Douglas. I'm not trying to sit here. Same thing with Robert Saleh, by the way. When I was defending Robert Saleh, it wasn't like I was sitting here saying, man, Robert Saleh, that's a Canton-worthy head coach. That's a guy who should remain head coach. Everyone knew Robert Saleh was going to get canned when the year was over, right? To can him when they did, it made no sense to me. And this just seems like one more piece of that puzzle that is just a scapegoat to try and brush under the rug that the Aaron Rodgers experiment not only blew up in their face, it blew their whole building down to the ground. And they're just, there's how many examples do we have of this? The Robert Saleh firing, signing Devontae Adams, now Joe Douglas getting canned. Meanwhile, throughout the year, you had several moments where it just felt like these guys had to answer questions that they could not tell the answer to accurately because they really weren't in control like we thought they were, or like they should be based on their position, right? So my overall point on it, it's not that that he should remain the GM. I think it was pretty inevitable he was going to get fired after the year because you have to clean house when you're yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't get I just don't understand the mindset there is all.
And I guess the other way to look at it too is it gives Woody Johnson a head start on candidates to bring into the building and start getting a head start on how they're going to fix the situation. So it may not have been, I mean, you could have let him finish the year, but how bad would it be where the GM is still sitting in the room, still sitting in the building, right? Still laying in the bed, and you have other GMs auditioning to be the guy that's going to replace the guy. So you might as well just kind of, and this is the other aspect to look at it is you're out of here regardless. So I might as well just do you a favor, do yourself a favor, go ahead and look for another gig somewhere else. I'll start doing my searching now. So that's another way to look at it as well. So for those trying to jump down our throats saying, like, he was great, it's not that it was not a matter of he was fantastic and why are they holding on to him? I mean, in this situation, it's doomed already. So might as well hang on. But I mean, maybe it was a mutual situation where it's like, you know what? You know what's up. I'm gonna, it's not working out. So you wanna split up? You go with that? Cool. All right, let's call it a day. And that's probably how it went down. We'll never know the true reasons as to how it went down. But when you have a meddling owner, like, do you ever hear Pagula jump in and say something? No.
That's what I love about it.
You trust your GM, you trust your head coach, and now stay out of it. The only thing that I would say that Woody Johnson, Pagula might have been, I mean, I'm sure he's fine with it now because he loves who he has. But when he was saying, I like Pat Mahomes, and you guys don't want that? Cool, I'll trust it. And he left it. I trust it. But that's why I was hard on McDermott and the crew. You guys got to get it done this year. This regular season win was great. It kind of, makes everybody feel good, but we all know what time it is when it comes down to the playoffs. You got to get it done. And for Pagula's sake, he's watching because he's 0-3. The guy that I wanted, you guys said no. So I'll stay out of it. I'll let you guys do what you do, but I'm watching. So, but thank God we're not in the position of the Jets because the Jets, Panthers, Browns are all in a tough situation. Thank goodness we have an owner that stays out of it and lets the football people do what they do.
To that point, Richie's kind of making that point for us. Woody Johnson, Jerry Jones 2.0, and I'm all for it in the AFC East. Just give us our AFC East banner now for the next 5 years. At least Aaron Rodgers, also a big problem. Yeah, to your point, I've always brought that up. And it goes all the way down to Josh Allen, right? It goes from Pagula to Bean to McDermott to Allen. They're all in lockstep. No one speaks out of turn, right? Nobody goes and makes a fool of themselves at the podium. Nobody goes and becomes a sideshow that everybody is focused in on instead of the product on the field. That's one of the main reasons why Stephon Diggs is not on the team this year. And you could argue that wasn't what Stephon Diggs, the drama, whatever that was there. You could argue that isn't 1/100th of what's going on with the Jets in a variety of different ways. That's just how little of that crap they want at one Bills drive. It's not that type of organization. The Chiefs aren't that type of organization. The Ravens aren't that type of organization. The Steelers aren't that type of organization. The class of the league, they're all similar in that they are all about business, man. That's all they are. Now, to Jerry Jones' credit, at least he is a master marketer. He's got that team at the highest valued. He's got the Dallas Cowboys at the highest value point of any team in America. That brand he has created is simply due to his genius, his ability to market, his ability to sell. It is a masterclass. But his ability to run a football team, I think that's been pretty inevitable for quite some time now. But he can't get out of his own way. He's been their GM ever since he took over, and it's just not the way it should be. If Terry Pagula was our GM, I mean, I can't even believe I'm saying this. Like, saying that out loud to me sounds insane. Like, could you imagine Terry Pagula is just sending in the draft card? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Woody Johnson, to my point here, at least Jerry Jones brings something to the table. At least he's entertaining. Woody Johnson's not entertaining. What is he bringing to the table other than being what seems to be the personification of the Jets dysfunction? Because it all has to lead back to the owner, because there's one person in the organization that can't get fired because they're not going to fire themselves, right? It's the owner. And it just feels like Woody Johnson, I saw someone earlier, half this stuff doesn't make sense. He said that this team was the best that they've had in a quarter century, yet the GM's got to go. The guy that brought the guys in, whether or not in the chat you think he did a good job or not, it's besides the point. The owner felt it was good enough to bring Aaron Rodgers in, because that's the biggest point of it all. You don't bring Aaron Rodgers in unless you feel like you have a team that would be capable of winning with him. When the Tampa Bay Bucks brought Brady in, they had guys around him. That's why the Jets were favored to win the East, and they were one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl. It wasn't just because of Aaron Rodgers. It was because everybody told you they were a quarterback away. And as you can see, they were not.
Is this a blow up worthy situation in New York? Do you blow this whole thing up, or is it salvageable where it's just a quarter? Because the people are asking, like, well, what's you done past the second round for? And I mean, we're on this Jets topic and we won't stay too long on it, but there are some valid things, right? Jordan Travis was quarterback for the Florida State squad that they liked a lot until he got hurt and declared for the draft anyway. So they have him in the wings right now. Who knows what can take place with that, right? Braylon Allen, a bright young star, 4th round, they drafted him, right? So this team has got some good key pieces. Joe Tippmann, obviously 2nd rounder, Israel Abanikanda. They got some decent guys on the squad, and then obviously some free agent guys that they brought in and so on and so forth. So I don't think this is a blow-up worthy situation. This is just a matter of what are you going to do at your quarterback position? It's quarterback. It's all quarterback. And Sally getting fired and Douglas getting fired. Bro, this is a quarterback situation. And Woody Johnson apparently wanted him benched week 3. And they said, no, bro, we ain't doing that. That's crazy talk. We're not going to do that. And in hindsight, maybe they should have. Who knows? But terrible position to be in as a Jets candidate GM. And Woody Johnson is going to have to, I mean, he just has to sit pretty and find the right guy that wants to be part of the squad. But you got to pick the right one, because the Jets fans, he's hearing them. They will revolt. And if they ain't coming out to watch this trash that you're putting out there, it's over with. I mean, even the players now, you're hearing, yo, we just want the season to get over with and done with. Yo, we're tired, bro. We're tired, yo. Just end the season right now. End us. We ain't making the playoffs. We're certainly not going to spoil any teams when Aaron Rodgers is our guy. So who knows, man? Who knows? Terrible situation to be in.
Now, if the question being asked, 445 Block asked us.
I saw answer that for you, bro. What do you mean what do you do after the first round? Let me tell you. So if you know your players, Braylon Allen, you're gonna tell me Braylon Allen's a trash player, bro? You let him start playing. You'll see a lot more. We don't know what Jordan Travis is gonna turn into. All right, that was this year's draft. Let me see. Let me go back to, let's go 2022. What do you do in 2022? They had a bevy of picks in 22. They had Gardner, Garrett, Johnson, Breece Hall, Jeremy Ruckert, 3rd round. He's going to be a player to deal with. And that's a 3rd round pick. I mean, that's a tough one to go through because they had like so many 1st and 2nd round picks. My gosh. Let's go to 2021. They had Jamian Sherwood, the safety, Michael Carter, the safety as well. Hamza Nerozaldine I think he's elsewhere. I don't think he's on the squad anymore, but still a decent player, but elsewhere. So, I mean, shoot. As a GM, you got to do great things with your 1st, 2nd, and multiple 2nd round picks. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, decent players that are contributing to this team, just not hot players that you guys are, I think, looking for. Right? If you're getting,
no, that's not the point either. The point we were making is not like, man, this guy's a guru. Yeah, if someone's gonna find a gem in the 6th round, it's Joe Douglas. My whole point was this was the last piece of the Jenga tower. Because you were just asking earlier, like, blow this thing up. The whole thing's already blown up. This was the last piece of shrapnel that felt like that had fallen out of the sky from this whole thing being blown up. So it's not about Joe Douglas being some master GM or anything. He was going to get fired. And I'm in agreement with you. You have got to clean house here. I mean, how could you not? This whole thing is a disaster. I just questioned the timing of it once again. Everything that the Jets have done this year has made no sense. I guess that's basically my overall point. The timing of it and when they did it, I don't know.
And folks, let's be real. Like if we're gonna start nitpicking at what people do in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, I mean, where's Justin Shorter? Like we can do the same thing for Bills teams as well. I'm not gonna do that, but I mean, look, you know what time it is, man. Luke Tunetta. Like I can go 6th round. What do we do with Luke Tunetta? But we also drafted Christian Bedford. That was great, right? We can go back. Look, where's Boogie Basham? That was the 2nd round pick. Where's Tommy Doyle? Where's Marquez Stevenson? Right? There's a whole lot of things we can do, guys. Come on now. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Listen, some guys hit, some guys don't. Some picks pan out, some don't. It is what it is at the end of the day. But anyway.
And also, I was talking to my buddy earlier, too. Like, the amount of luck that's involved in this, too, is incredible. Like, it truly is incredible. Jobs are kept or lost over a lot of luck. Believe me. Now, once again, was he set up for success in the early rounds? Of course. Did he fail with Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold? Obviously. I'm not sitting here and defending Joe Douglas being employed the start of next season for the New York Jets.
Douglas like that. You're right.
Yeah. The whole thing to me, it's just like, oh, we lose to the Vikings, but it was because our offense completely shat itself. Let's fire our defensive-oriented head coach and then have our defense kind of fall off of a cliff after that. Oh, we lose another game that we shouldn't have lost. Let's go get Devontae Adams for absolutely no reason whatsoever, right? Let's not fire Nathaniel Hackett, even though everyone on the planet knows that he should not be the offensive coordinator. Let's not fire him, but let's fire Saleh and then demote Nathaniel Hackett kind of quietly so that we don't upset Aaron Rodgers all that much.
Right. It is lucky with that.
And now this, and then what the not signing the who the hell did they trade for there? And they didn't get him on a contract until like 8-9 weeks into the season.
Oh, their defensive end. I know who you're talking about. It's not coming to me right now, but I'll let you know.
Why is it not coming to me either? What the hell?
He just came back to the team, and is it Hassan Reddick?
Hassan Reddick, thank you. Yes. That whole thing too, what a mess. And then all of a sudden, when it started to get messier and messier, what do? We go, oh, let's get the deal done, right? So I don't know. All year long, every single step of the way, this Jets team has just been the epitome of dysfunction. And I think this right here is just one more example. That's it. Now sticking on the same side of the interstate.
Yeah, let's stick to it. We need to go to the Giants. I need to talk about these Giants, man.
We got to, man. So speaking of just failing at every level. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Isn't it remarkable that the two worst organizations? I mean, you got to throw Cleveland in there. I mean, Cleveland is I don't even know how to describe them as Cleveland.
Cleveland has a great defense. It's just they put their eggs in a basket, a guaranteed contract in Deshaun Watson, and it's showed poorly. Their receiving crew is not bad. Their running backs are fantastic. Their defense is solid as ever. It's that quarterback position, and you're putting a mediocre quarterback right now in Jameis Winston, and he's getting you wins against division foes. Bro, terrible. But it's not about the Browns right now. These freaking Giants, bro. Brian Dable, Joe Shane. You guys went ahead and brought that brother to the squad. No, excuse me. Let me pull that back. You guys went ahead and gave him an extended contract. Nobody forced y'all to do it. You guys decided to do it because maybe it was the arrogance in Dable where he thinks he can fix my man, or did he see something, a semblance, which there isn't, of Josh Allen with the athleticism and so on and so forth. Bro, what a terrible, terrible decision to go and extend him. You could have just gave him, I mean, like a pick up his 5th year. But no, you went and extended him, bro. And then now you release him. What a disaster. What a disaster. And now you guys are sitting here with your D in your hand with nothing to show for it. Like, come on, man. Like, and you guys went to the playoffs. You guys were a playoff sweetheart.
I'll tell you what.
How things fall quickly.
Isn't it remarkable? The reason I brought up the Browns is because they're certainly up there. You can argue in a variety of ways that Cleveland has great pieces in certain spots of their team. But what they did to get Deshaun Watson, it will go down as the worst move in professional sports, maybe all time, certainly in my lifetime. I don't know. I don't know how there could be a close second to it.
There is. When the Saints traded for there's several. When the Saints traded for Ricky Williams, and
did they give Ricky Williams $250 million contract fully guaranteed after coming off of dozens of sexual assault charges? I don't think they did. It was. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. It was one of the most asinine things I've ever seen, and they're reaping what they sowed right now. I mean, that's just the best way to put it. But with that said, the two most losing organizations in the sport over pretty much the last decade happen to share the exact same facility. It's incredible to me. So you're watching what's going on with the Jets, and it's almost parallel with the New York Giants. And what's crazy to me is all of this happening in the same year here, right? The same year. And this is where I go back to, because selfishly as a Bills fan, this is where I have to go back to. You can't tell this story of Daniel Jones without going back to the 2018 draft class with round 1, pick number 2. Because where this season started and now where it's currently ending, it all goes back to that draft pick. In 2018, the New York Giants, now this is, of course, before Joe Shane, before Brian Dable, but the Giants aren't in this mess if they adequately planned for the departure of Eli Manning. They never did. You could argue that the Pittsburgh Steelers never did this with Ben Roethlisberger either. They let Eli hang around 1 year too long, and they drafted Saquon Barkley at number 2 overall. It might be the highest we ever see a running back go again. And in that same draft class, you had probably 2 first ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks that you could have taken right then and there. You could have had Josh Allen, and I know everybody else in the league passed on Lamar Jackson, including the Ravens once. You could have had Lamar Jackson. Hell, I think Baker Mayfield would have been fine in New York, or at least better than what this was. I mean, I don't think it would have been worse. I mean, could you argue it would have been worse? They had all the opportunity right there. But it's not just that they passed on those guys. To take Saquon, then begin this year on HBO, on television, to begin the year, giving you the behind-the-scenes look of what it looks like to let that guy, the only guy worth a damn currently on your roster in terms of marketing value, in terms of putting asses in the seats, in terms of household names, you let that guy go to your biggest rival in your division, and guess what? He's going to win Offensive Player of the Year with that team. And in the same season, you now, 2 years removed from giving Daniel Jones a 4-year, $160 million extension, release him just over the halfway point of the year. Dude, this is absolutely insane to me. I can't think of something quite close to this just absolute disaster, because it's different than the Jets situation. Like, they went out and thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be the savior. The Giants did all of this in-house, all in-house. It was a playoff win over Kirk Cousins in the most fluky 13-win season you've ever seen. A playoff win in the wild card round against Kirk Cousins, who Minnesota couldn't wait to move off from, earned Daniel Jones a contract extension, and they were willing to sign the dotted line on it, Rico. And to couple that with the Saquon situation, man, dude, I don't know how Giants fan. I don't know how I cannot put myself in the shoes of these guys. How are you doing it? How are you doing it?
It's not good. It's not good. And Mara, the owner of the Giants have got to look at that combination of Dable and Joe Shane and be like, all right, like I gave you guys full reign, you guys couldn't fix it, and now we're back to square one, for crying out loud. And I get it. Dave Gettleman effed us by grabbing Saquon Barkley because Giants fans still hold him accountable for making such a pick. Saquon Barkley was a dynamic player. Do not ever get me wrong, but that was a move when you had listen, the year before, was it 18 when they took Saquon? Tell me that's not what it was.
Same draft class as Josh.
So you took you know what? I got to go back. I got to go back to look at what other running backs were in that draft class, because that's what's going to set me. I gotta go back and take a look.
While you're doing that, the point though, Rico, it's not that Saquon wasn't worthy of it. Clearly, he is one of the best athletes in the sport. But to exhaust the second overall pick on him, and you have to remember too, also at the time, Rico, Baker Mayfield was supposed to be a major hit. Sam Darnold was supposed to be a major hit. And then you had Josh Allen and Lamar that were viewed as projects. But boy, if they do hit, they could be generational. With all that in mind, they still passed. And you could have came back and traded into the first round to grab Lamar Jackson. You could have, because they had two Rico. The following year they had 3 first-round picks, I believe, that they could have acquired to get into the first round again in 2018.
Unbelievable, and that's why bad GMing, man. They can really set your damn franchise apart and set you guys in a terrible place. And you have good GMing. Thank goodness we got some great GMing going on right now, because golly, the Giants, bro. Like this information right now, what we're talking about, should piss off all Giants fans. Should piss y'all off. And I'm sure you guys talk about it daily. But my goodness, man. So now I'm looking at the list of running backs, right? After Saquon Barkley, the next running back taken was Rashad Penny in the first round. I can't believe they spent Rashad Penny. They took him in the first round. So Rashad Penny in the first round. Then you had Sonny Michel that went to the New England Patriots at the time. Lamar Jackson goes at 32. My gosh, you came back. Then they came back with Will Hernandez. The Giants came back with Will Hernandez and grabbed. Then you had Nick Chubb in the second round. Nick Chubb. Leave, man. You could have had your quarterback and Nick Chubb. But y'all the whole thing, Rico, is they drafted Saquon as if Eli wasn't about to walk out of the building the year after. That's what I don't get. They held on to the past for too long. They drafted Saquon seemingly to coincide with Eli. And then to move off of them the way that they did. And this is what kills me, is obviously Joe Shane and Dable weren't around to pick Daniel Jones. Yeah.
To extend him, man, they have had to have lost countless nights of sleep on that, man.
This is the problem. Because you had an opportunity to walk away from that situation, knowing what you saw. You've been around good quarterbacks, and this is the problem. It's not like Dable's a new coach, and he's not been around quarterback. He's been around the league for a long time. He's seen what is good, and he's seen what isn't. He's seen good quarterback play. Heck, you were on a team that was with a franchise Hall of Fame dude in Tom Brady, for crying out loud. So what are we talking about here? And you thought that you could fix Daniel Jones? Are you kidding me? Bro, I'm telling you right now, if they were to let go of Dable, I would totally understand why. You're mismanagers. Or, Shane, you got to go.
No, so that's what I'm at.
Talk to me about Shane, because I know you have some thoughts on Joe Shane. Joe Shane.
Dude, in real time, this dude, mind you, this is prior to this. This is prior to, way prior to this. In real time, watching Hard Knocks in the offseason, in real time, I'm sitting there saying, oh, there's no way he survives this. I felt like I was watching something that I should not be watching. It felt like I had a hidden camera in there. the incompetency on full display. It never felt to me in that moment with the Saquon moment, it never felt to me like Joe Schoen was going to retain his job after this upcoming season, because the Mara family literally said that, I forget the exact saying. It was like, I'm going to be something to the extent of, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick if Saquon Barkley ends up becoming a Philadelphia Eagle, right? That was essentially what they had said. When I was watching that Hard Knocks, it just felt inevitable to me that Joe Schoen, if Saquon went to Philly and it worked out, I just never saw a path out of there in which he was going to survive it. Because it just felt like he didn't do enough to keep him around. It felt like they were way too risky in allowing him to look around and to look at Philly. They showed the day of, when they were trying to see what the situation was with Saquon, they showed the day of. Saquon has then come out and said afterwards there wasn't a whole lot of communication there. I think Saquon wanted to be a Giant. I think he wanted to stay a Giant, and I don't think that was emphasized in the building. At the time, not only did it not make sense to me from a player perspective, he was by far your best player, but he was the only marketable player to me. He was the only player on the team that you would put on the Sunday Night Football graphic. That's how I like to look at teams. Because you know the teams when they're previewing next week's game and they have to put the head coach in the graphic because they don't have a quarterback or they don't have a star player. That's what the Giants immediately became the second they let Saquon Barkley walk out the door. So when you look at it from a business perspective, which the NFL is at the end of the day, not only do you lose your best player on the field, you lose by far your best asset in terms of business value for the New York Giants. And the way it all went down, it's not like Philly made him an offer he couldn't refuse, and Joe Schoen was on the phone just knocking doors down trying to make things happen, and they couldn't come to an agreement. They seemingly just kind of let him go. And it didn't feel like he was, dying to get out of there, which, looking back on it, wouldn't you have been? But there's a lot of pride in getting drafted to somewhere and wanting to remain there. And it's a really hard thing to do in all of these sports. So when I was watching that Hard Knocks right then and there, but then when you look back on it in hindsight, which at the time it felt like hindsight wasn't necessary. It felt like at the time the Daniel Jones extension was a little premature. It just did not feel like it was earned or warranted because Kirk Cousins throws a pass 5 yards before the sticks on fourth down to try and convert in a wild card playoff game. And the Giants get, I don't want to say lucky, but they pull off an upset that they shouldn't have probably had in the wild card round. And that's all they have to show for it. At the end of the day, that is one of the worst playoff victories in NFL history. Because I think that if the Giants lose to the Minnesota Vikings in that wild card game, I'm not sure if Daniel Jones ever got extended. But when you were going years without a playoff victory, and Daniel Jones is the captain of the ship, so to speak, of the team that does get the playoff victory against the team you were a heavy underdog against on the road, the logical conclusion is, well, we got something here. But when you looked around the league and you saw what Mahomes was doing and Lamar was doing and Allen was doing and Burrow was doing, did Daniel Jones ever once give you the impression that that was what he was going to be or that was what he was? I'll give him credit. He's athletic. But, man, all you got to do is watch about a half of football to tell who the guys are and who aren't. And Daniel Jones, great dude. I felt really bad for him watching that press conference where he was seemingly tearing up because, man, it can't be easy, especially when you get paid to become the guy. It's got to be even harder to bear that burden knowing that they paid you to be the guy and you still can't be the guy. But, man, it's not his fault, in my opinion. He's the one who got the contract put in front of him. Wouldn't you have signed it? I mean, of course you would have. It never should have been put in front of him in the first place. And now you're watching 2 years removed from a 4-year, $160 million contract extension, him be released from the team in the middle of the year. It is absolutely absurd. And to your question before you bounced out of there, Rico, about Joe Shane, there is not a scenario in my mind where he is employed by the New York Giants come mid-January, February. There's just no way in hell. There's no way.
Unless Dable says, if he goes, I go. Right? I want him there. We came here together.
I'm interested to see what you think about this, because I differ on this. I'm willing to give Dable more of a crack. I don't think that offense was ever up to snuff enough to where I can sit back and say, hey, Dable, we gave you the tool, or we gave you the we gave you the ingredients. You just couldn't whip up the meal. I mean, that's not the impression that I've gotten so far. And I don't know if there's a better option out there right now to replace Dable that's all of a sudden going to make whoever the hell they wind up drafting turn this Giants offense into something it hasn't been for about a decade.
I mean, if you think about what they've forget about what they did with bringing in, obviously, Daniel Jones, right? When did those boys get there? 2 years ago? The 22 season?
2022. So Rico, that's the other thing too. That's the crazy part about this. Their signature moment in their first year was essentially extending Daniel Jones. That was one of their
you're right,
first moves of their full season there. They did it towards the end of their first year employed on the job.
There comes a time where you
let me know in the chat if that's me or Rico, by the way. I can't tell. Is Rico frozen or am I frozen? I'm looking good on my end. He's frozen on my end. All right, it is Rico. I'm seeing in the chat. We'll get him back here in a second. I don't know. Does it seem to you like the evaluation of Brian Dable has been on an even playing field? I don't know. Think about it like this. If you have to let go of Daniel Jones 2 years after signing that extension, what does that say about what he had to work with? I mean, not a whole hell of a lot, in my opinion. I don't quite know how you can sit in essentially, I don't know, what's the best way to put this? I just don't think that you are able to adequately evaluate what Brian Dable has been as a head coach for these New York Giants under the circumstances in which he's been in. But now we're looking at it, right? You got Malik Neighbors, and he looks like he's going to be a stud. What's going to happen if you go out in this upcoming draft and you do get that guy that they were hoping Daniel Jones would be, that they probably should have known he wasn't, because you looked around the league and it was visible that there were guys out there that were visibly the guys. So what happens with Malik Neighbors now? And a defense that I think is way underrated. You get a quarterback in there around Neighbors who looks like he really could be something special if they wind up putting assets around him to allow him to be that. He's been doing it already with what seems like, very disadvantageous personnel surrounding him. I don't think I fire Brian Dable. I don't know what the better option would be. I also don't know, once again, similar to the Jets situation, who's dying to take that job. I also think that if you let Brian Dable go, someone's hiring him quick. Maybe not head coach initially, but would it shock you? There's going to be a lot of head coaching. Openings coming up here. I wouldn't. At the end of the day, the contract situation to me with Daniel Jones, Brian Dable probably had a say in it, but he's not the one drafting up the contract. He's not the one giving it to Daniel Jones to sign. That's on the general manager. That's the general manager's job. And I don't know how you watched that game against the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs and thought to yourself, Daniel Jones was the reason we just won that, and he's going to be the reason we continue to win in the future. I don't know, man. How incredible is it? The dysfunction on a maximum level that is taking place literally in the same parking lot. Just different color schemes in different conferences. It's crazy, man. This is nuts. In one calendar year, You move on from your best player, allow him to go to your biggest rival. He's going to be the offensive player of the year. And meanwhile, you have to release your quarterback mid-season that you just extended 2 years ago. And even at the time, it wasn't like, I'll give you an example. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, the year that Nick Foles went and beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. If Carson Wentz didn't get hurt, there was a good chance Carson Wentz would have won the MVP that year. So when you're looking back at Carson Wentz in terms of like, oh my God, you remember that year where Carson Wentz was like the guy? And then all of a sudden you blink a couple years later and you're like, oh my God, I remember Carson Wentz, right? At least then, though, you had a year where you're like, I mean, we're not going to keep this guy around. The guy would have won the MVP if he didn't blow his leg out. With Daniel Jones, where was even that? The only thing that was, the only slight, I think that this is the reason we keep him around, is a wild card victory over Kirk Cousins. And at the time, I feel like it's bad when at the time people were like, man, I don't know about that. I don't know about this. And the crazy thing is doing it when you did. Because you saw what the draft class was at quarterback this past year. And we saw the Giants try. We literally saw the Giants try in that Hard Knock. Speaking of which, one more thing where you're like, man, what is going on here? You saw them actively try to trade up to get Jaden Daniels. So they had already told you, my God, how crazy, when you really think about it, how crazy is this? They extend Daniel Jones. He gets a season-long injury after not playing well. And then they're immediately looking to replace him, the draft going into this coming year. Why the hell did you sign the extension then? And this is why, to me, I just don't see how Joe Shane survives this. When you're in a circumstance in which they're in, or which the Giants are, or the Jets are in, like, something's got to give. And that's why, like I said, I don't agree with the timing of the firing of Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh. But I always agreed with them getting fired after the year. I always was fully aware that was going to happen. And this is why I wouldn't fire Brian Daboll, but I would understand why. Because there's got to be a large part of you that just wants to completely hit the refresh button on this. Get a whole new slew of guys in there. Because when it's as bad as it is right now, and it's bad, sometimes that's just the best way to do it. And keeping guys lingering around from the mess might not alleviate the mess. So I get that mindset. But there's a lot of work that's got to be done in both of these New Jersey organizations. There's a lot of work that needs to be done league-wide right now. You look around the league, man. Right now, what is there? Like 8 to 10 teams that truly feel competitive. You got about 2/3 of the league that don't feel like they could even win a playoff game. Literally 2/3 of the league. And that's including organizations that you wouldn't expect this level of dysfunction from. I mean, I understand the Cowboys. You expect some level of dysfunction with Jerry Jones. This year has been on a whole other level. This year has been a completely different level compared to what I've seen in the past from these Dallas Cowboys. It's just every single week, it's just something that's more insane than the next. And I know Jerry Jones has always been one that won't shy away from a story or whatever, but well prior to Dak Prescott getting injured, this thing was toast. And they've invested so much money into that team without taking care of the rest of the team. I think right now, nearly half of their salary cap is tied up in like 3 guys. Zach Martin, CeeDee Lamb, and Dak Prescott, and they have not paid Micah Parsons yet. So the Cowboys, like, I don't even know what's next for Dallas, but it seems like they're going to be a long ways away from getting back to even where they were last year. I know that when the playoffs came around, it was brutal. I mean, Green Bay just blew the doors off of them, but man, that was a 13-win team last year. And I don't think they're going to get close to that anytime soon. But if you're looking around the league right now, right? You got your Bills, you got your Steelers, your Ravens, the Texans, the Chiefs, of course, the Eagles, the Lions, the Vikings. Couple mediocre teams, right? Right now, Cincinnati's defense is so bad, you cannot not consider them mediocre. Their offense is insanely elite. But that defense is so damn bad, you cannot conclude the Bengals to be anything currently right now but mediocre at best. I mean, Joe Burrow is playing at a Hall of Fame level this year, and it doesn't even matter. That's how bad that defense is. But you look around the league right now, and you got the Jets, 3 wins. The Patriots, 3 wins. The Browns, 3 wins. The Titans, 2 wins. The Jags, 2 wins. The Raiders, 2 wins. The Cowboys, 3 wins. The Giants, 2 wins. The Panthers, 3 wins. And then some of these teams in the 4 area, it's like, it's just, would you expect, say New Orleans sneaks into the playoffs. New Orleans winning a playoff game, in your opinion? No way. Bears get into the playoffs somehow? No way. No chance. There's a lot of bad football right now, a lot of bad organizations that have a lot of cleaning up to do. And it's crazy that at the top of that list are both the teams that play in the same exact stadium on Sunday. That's why you can't, I mean, what the Bills are doing right now, to be able to have done it this year with what they've done it with, or who they've done it with, that goes to show you how well run that organization is. That organization is so well run. They have been able to overcome essentially losing, half their starting roster in the offseason? Haven't skipped a beat. There's just so much bad right now. If you look at all 32 teams right now, you could probably only name 8 to 10 teams that you are truly confident in their ability to win at least one playoff game. And outside of that, I mean, even the teams that are in the middle right now, to me, right? Like, for instance, the Dolphins got a lot of talent on that team. Dolphins' ability to pass the divisional round ever. Yeah, you might be somewhat confident in the Dolphins' ability if they get the proper matchup and it's at home. Yeah, you could see them winning a wild card game, right? Say the Dolphins get a home playoff game and it's against a team that's right around their skill level. You could see them winning a playoff game. In your heart of hearts, could you see the Miami Dolphins getting to an AFC championship? No. And that's a team that has guys. That's a team that's loaded up, right? The Colts, another one. It just feels like they have guys, but it's just not nearly good enough. And it doesn't feel like it's going to be good enough anytime soon. The Bucs kind of feel like that to me. Tampa Bay, to me, they got dudes. Baker Mayfield's playing well. Now, they've had a ton of injuries this year. But the Bucs, to me, they feel like another one of those teams. So even your middle ground teams, Rico, this whole point I was making right now in terms of bouncing off of the Jets and the Giants, those two are at the top of the list in terms of the dysfunction and the amount of cleanup that's necessary. But man, dude, I'm looking around this league right now, and I was just saying, to me, there's maybe 10 teams. There's 1/3 of the league that you're confident in their ability to win a playoff game in. The rest, to me, it's just a lot of very mediocre or just flat out bad.
There was I don't know who it was. Somebody was talking about like how terrible the league is, and there's some games where you're just like, what? Panthers Giants, ain't nobody trying to watch no Panthers Giants or in the UK and so on and so forth. I actually say that there's more parity in this league. Like if you look at every division, other than probably the AFC East, a lot of the divisions are pretty much in lockstep. And some teams kind of gaining their way by getting themselves a franchise quarterback. I mean, look, you go to the NFC East. Washington, you didn't really know what Washington was going to be. Jaden Daniels has these guys competing. We're talking about the damn Commanders, right?
Yeah, but look at the bottom of the division. It's brutal. Look at the bottom of the division. It's unwatchable football. The Dallas Cowboys right now are playing some of the worst football I have ever seen.
Buddy, that's a whole nother situation. I think they're a year too far into McCarthy. They should have got rid of that guy last year, but they held on to him, and this is the result of what you get when you hold on to a guy like that. But overall, when you look at what the Giants and the Jets are doing, big market, and this is the thing, that's a big market. And when you're a big market, you better have something worth watching on TV. I don't want to see the Jets on freaking primetime with that product. I don't want to see the Giants on primetime.
By the way, do you know the Browns have 3 upcoming primetime games? The Browns?
But like they're somewhat worth watching at this point.
It's fair. Jameis, dude, give me a front row seat to that any day. You're right. That's a fair
I'm telling you, man. They are somewhat worth watching because he's given them some life, and you can see a true product of what this team can be. Sometimes there's players that hold guys back. Prime example, Steelers. Justin Fields, although had these guys at a 4-2 record, in my opinion, was holding them back. He was holding George Pickens back. He was holding the run game back. He was holding guys back. You couldn't really play defense the way you wanted to play defense. And you might be thinking, what the hell does an offense have to do with how a defense plays? Well, if your team is putting up points, you now can become a more attacking defense and pin your ears and go and get them. It changes the dynamic of what this defense can do. Now, when you're playing from behind and it changes everything, right? Your run game's not as secure anymore. You don't run the ball anymore. So now you're stuck in pass mode, right? It changes everything. So you become more balanced. That's what the Browns have become with Jameis Winston, which is crazy. But anyway, I feel like the landscape of the league, the way it is, there are your 10 teams that are your top dogs. And then everything else kind of mumble jumbles like every year. But I feel like there's a lot more parity in this league. And we'll start to see the next couple of years, teams that were not supposed to do anything special will start to ascend. Case in point, be A.R. Richardson. I mean, he was looking like terrible. And then his last game, he came and looked like a competent damn quarterback.
It's because he played the Jets.
I mean, some might say it's because he played the Jets. You might be right on that.
By the way, Lick's saying, he's saying the Cowboys suck, but the Cowboys aren't playing that bad. Why Z-Bot always got to stretch things? Lick, the Cowboys have a minus 118 point differential at home this year. Minus 118. They're losing games at home by an average of almost of like around 3 touchdowns. They are getting destroyed on a weekly basis. And I think it's pretty obvious because they're in a prime window constantly. You just watched it on Monday night. They ran one of the worst fake punts I've ever seen in my life. That offense cannot do anything. And I know Dak Prescott's not out there, but even when he was out there, Dallas is bad right now. Dallas is big time bad.
They're not really watchable right now. You watch them and you're like, I'm looking at who's throwing me the ball? Cooper Rush, and then
yes.
Cooper Rush throwing me the ball.
Why aren't they giving Trey Lance a chance?
Because he blows. That's why. He blows. He hasn't been good. San Francisco, they blew it on them, and you think that would set the San Francisco 49ers back. They didn't, because they had Brock Purdy waiting in the wings, Mr. Irrelevant. So they got lucky in that regard. But Dallas taking a chance on former first rounder. They gave up a 4th round for him to bring him to Dallas, and you put Cooper Rush in? What? But it's because he's not. If he's not good enough to get on the field, you blow. That's just what it is, bro. You suck. Athleticism can only get you so far. You got to throw the freaking football. So if Cooper Rush is actually a thrower of the football, bro, that's why they try to get rid of. They get scared to go to a running quarterback, i.e., and I do this on purpose for Lamar Jackson. Oh, but he can't read a defense, so all he's going to do is run around. How wrong they were. But there are guys, I mean, this is before your time, but guys like Achilles Smith blew. He was horrible. They brought that guy in the first round, terrible. There's been some terrible quarterbacks that I thought with their athleticism they can throw the football. Hasn't been the case, but Dallas blows. They suck. I love it. I love to be here for it. But Trey Lance he ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere.
You know what it could be? You know what it could be right now in terms of why, like to your point, and I'm not trying to say anything to the contrary. Yeah, you always have your top dogs. You always have your middle of the pack. You always have your bottom of the pack. But it feels like the middle and the bottom of the pack are like as bad as it's ever been. And I think it's because of the quarterback position. When you watch Allen and Mahomes go toe-to-toe, when you watch Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson go toe-to-toe, and then you got to watch Daniel Jones play Bryce Young in a standalone window in an overseas game, Rico, it's like watching a different sport. And I think that might be what it is right now. The difference between Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, Burrow, and then, of course, you got your guys that are your outliers that are still killing it in the pocket. Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, right? You also got to throw Kyler Murray in there, too, the way that he's playing with the athleticism up there with the rest of them, right? But, man, Rico, like it just feels like that might be it. The difference, not only in the outcome with these quarterbacks because of their play, but visually. Like, I think that might be why it feels like the bad is way worse, because I think the best, it might be the best it's ever been. That could be the thing. The good is great. The bad is bad.
Okay. I'm so glad you brought that up, because there's somebody that was bringing this up for the NBA. They feel like the NBA has taken a dip because there are no superstars, right? Kobe, God rest him, gone. He out of here, right? You don't got the Shaqs anymore. LeBron is holding on, but still killing it at age 40, which is insane to me. Year 22, whatever, and counting. Anyway, the point is, there are I think the next star. If you watch basketball, I'm not sure if you do. The next star is Greek Freak. I mean, to kind of keep the game going, and Ant-Man, right? And that's pretty much. I don't know any of these new cats. They're not bona fide and that dude enough for me to be like box office, pay attention. We're in a very good place in the NFL. Joe Burrow, you got Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray. I'm missing one more young stud that's like in
Justin Herbert's been playing phenomenally.
Justin Herbert in their second contract. Like, these guys are the next. That's the wave. Once that wave goes, man, I mean, who's behind them? Right? Who's behind them that's going to CJ and Jane Daniels? I mean, there's going to be some guys that come in. NFL is a little different, but it's the product that's coming out of college. If you don't give me a good product, and that's why this guy was saying the NFL is not good anymore because these guys are good, so on and so forth. You guys got to develop these guys, and Tom Brady was talking about it. Develop these guys, man. I had time to sit and learn and this and that and so on and so forth. These guys are just kind of doing 2-3 years and jumping into the league, and you see why in the product. Trey Lance being a prime. This guy only had 1 year's worth of football, not even, less than that, and he got drafted in the first round. Daniel Jones, hardly any time under center, and they drafted this guy. Of course, you're going to get the product you're getting, right? Here's the flip side. These days, these quarterbacks and receivers are doing these 7-on-7 drills all season long. So they're constantly learning and finding new ways and so on and so forth. So that's a whole nother way to look at all this, all of the way this whole situation is coming along. But right now, like you said, we're in a very good place when it comes to that quarterback play, and we're spoiled. But we're very much spoiled right now because we went from Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers,
Drew Brees,
and we're like, man, that's a good group. And then you come with this new group, you're like, oh shit, all right, we onto something now. So I mean, listen, it's only gonna get better. I hope, we hope, and maybe this is the golden age where things just kind of die down. I mean, we'll see. But for the most part, I think we're in a great time to be watching football, and we have one of the better ones that we can say on our squad. I sometimes wonder. I sit there and go, how the heck, as a fan, did we manage to just root for this team, quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, and somewhat lie to ourselves and saying maybe this might be the year, maybe we got something, maybe this, boy, bro, we didn't have it. We did not have it. We lied to ourselves, and we kept the lie going until we actually got ourselves a franchise quarterback. We thought we had one in EJ Manuel. We thought. We're like, okay, big-time program. EJ Manuel's coming, big gun, and then didn't work out. We lied to ourselves. We thought, right? Ah, man, the times. Good times.
KG's putting it well. He's right here, and this is how I feel. Well, there's always been 5 or 6 really elite top-tier quarterbacks, but the talent now is so unearthly. Like Brady's talent isn't Lamar and Allen talent. Like it's just different talent. And this type of talent is literally like watching a video game. Tom Brady throwing dink and dunks to Julian Edelman and Gronk for 6 Super Bowls wasn't necessarily video game-esque. You know, Lamar Jackson turning a 15-yard loss into a 20-yard gain. Josh Allen hurdling over guys. Pat Mahomes throwing the ball with his left hand. That's stuff you've never seen before. And that's why I think the discrepancy is so huge, Rico. And that's, of course, why we're lucky to have a guy like Josh Allen, who right now on BetUS is currently the betting favorite to win the MVP. To your point there, Rico, I can't get enough of this. Even if he doesn't win it, just to be able to stare at this in week 12, it always gives you a nice reminder as Daniel Jones gets let go, first-round pick in the middle of the season, right? Anthony Richardson gets benched, then has to come back in, right? Bryce Young, same situation. To be able to go and look at this and know, yes, there was a lot of luck involved, but the Bills' willingness to be able to take that lottery ticket and try to see if they could cash in on it, it wound up paying off big time. Plus 150 is Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, by the way, he's right behind him. I mean, this is going to be down to the wire in terms of these next 3 weeks, by the way, Rico, will be really big, and I think determining who kind of separates there. If you want to get in on Allen while he's still plus money, by the way, YouTube 150 on BetUS, 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. Hey, do you want to dive into this simulator and take a peek at what's the deal is?
Let's dive in. Let's dive in.
All right. So as you can tell, it took an hour and a half for us to get there, but we got there nonetheless. In the title of the video you're watching currently, how can the Buffalo Bills get the 1 seed in the AFC? Well, luckily for us, the New York Times has provided us with a simulator that we can kind of walk through right now and determine what the path can be for the Bills to get there. Now, we can do a homer one, and then we can do a realistic one and kind of see how it all shakes out. We have the beauty of kind of being able to play with things here. But if you go over on there right now, here's kind of where things stack up in terms of the rest of the league, right? So right now, like I mentioned, the Bills are the only team in the NFL that have greater than a 99% chance to win their division. That's just how bad the East has been. That's how good the Bills have been within that division. But the question that we're trying to hone in on is this round 1 bye. Currently, going into week 12, the Bills, according to New York Times, have a 44% chance to get a first-round bye. In the beginning of the year, Rico, going into week 1, they had a 7% chance to get that round 1 bye. Meanwhile, there's those Kansas City Chiefs at 47%. Folks, it's way closer than I think we think. And we know that obviously the distance between us and the Chiefs narrowed after beating them. But I think it narrowed more than maybe we thought. And now we have to go and determine, Rico, how we can continue to narrow that path and allow the Bills to pass them and get that bye that Josh Allen has never had. We don't know how valuable that could, how valuable would it be, Rico, to just not have to play another one and to have the AFC Championship if they get there in Buffalo, dude. So here it is. On New York Times, you've seen this before, I'm sure. This is the exact same situation as the playoffs.
We used it like crazy last year because we were on the brink, man. We were like ready to be eliminated. We're trying to, okay, we need this to happen to that person. That person needs to lose here and this, that. Dude, there's a whole lot of stuff. Let's dive into it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through and predict strictly the Bills and the Chiefs games and see how that kind of fluctuates the number here. So obviously the Bills are on the bye this week. The Chiefs got the Panthers. Rico, I think we can agree there. The Chiefs, 11-point favorites in Carolina.
I mean, I think an act of God would have to happen for the Chiefs to lose that game. And if they do, Rico, it would be one of the greatest upsets of my lifetime in the league. 2, look out. I mean, I don't even know what else you could say, but I cannot for the life of me bring myself to even click that Panthers button. You with me on this one?
I'm like, could we put no, it's not happening.
All right. So without the Bills being able to play this week, a Chiefs win alone against the Panthers would drop the Bills from 44% to 42%. All right. So now let's get into week 13. Bills are back. Prime time, baby. Sunday Night Football against the Niners. Right now, according to the New York Times simulator, and they have all these cool stats on here, by the way. I love this little grid here. How good are the Bills? And it shows you the average points scored and the average points expected to be allowed on both sides of the ball.
Love
and
it.
Every little ball you hover over here shows you the other team. So right now, the Bills have the 3rd best offense in terms of expected points, and they're towards the top in terms of defensive points expected to be allowed. And then overall, in terms of how they're viewed to win a football game, right towards the top. This I found interesting.
That far up. That's crazy. Anyways, we'll talk about that in just a moment.
Look at this, Rico. They have over a 30% chance to win 13 games. They have a 20% chance to win 14 games. That would be the greatest record in franchise history if they were to get to 14 wins, and they have a 20% chance to do it. So if we go down to the Bills game against the Niners, right now the Bills are favored to win every single one of their games that they play to close the year out, except for the Lions game. They have a 36% chance to win that, which I think is interesting. That's very interesting. That just goes to show you how good the Lions are. It's also on the road.
So, I call cap, and we're going to get into that. That's one thing I really want to get into.
All right, I love it. I am going to take the Chiefs to beat the Raiders. Would you agree on that?
Chiefs to beat the Raiders? You know what? We'll give the Chiefs this game because the Raiders right now, I mean, it's a division game and they play them well, but I'll give them the Chiefs just for the benefit of the doubt. Chiefs win it.
And I think the Bills beat the Niners, man. Brock Purdy now banged up. The Niners they're not playing. They're not the Niners that we think that they are. And we have far too big of a sample size right now, I think, to continue to think about the Niners like we did last year. They have showed us week in and week out that they're not the same. I think the Bills are the better football team right now. So I got the Bills winning that. So even with that, the Bills are now at a 48% chance.
Okay.
To get the 1 seed. Okay.
Where's the Chiefs at? Oh no, we'll just deal with that. Let's go. Keep going.
So Bills, Rams, and now this is where it gets interesting. Chiefs, Chargers. Chargers are playing some good ball, Rico.
Good defensive ball. That's the big one. They're playing good defensive ball. Give me the Chargers. Give me the Chargers, bro.
So let's see what happens if the Bills beat the Rams and the Chargers pull off the upset. Whoa. That would rocket the Bills up to a 73% chance at the 1 seed. Let's see what happens if the Chiefs win that game. They still crack the 50% mark.
Give me the Bills losing to the 49ers.
Oof.
Damn, we dipped that much?
Yeah, because if you lose, you already are a game back. If you lose 2 games back, if you lose 2 games in terms of the distance, it's tough to make it up.
That's why these games that's crazy. All right, let's roll. So give the 49ers with the win. With the Bills to win.
Okay. All right, so we got the Chargers losing there.
Yep.
Well, now all it would take, Rico, is the Bills to lose out, right? Or to win out. That's all they would have to do. But let's say the Chiefs beat the Browns and the Lions beat the Bills. What happens then? Wow. Okay, so it's still. So at that point,
it's like we almost have to win out, and they can't lose. So what has
so
to
right
happen?
now, we have the Bills with 1 loss. We have the Chiefs with 1 loss. That would still put the Bills 1 game behind the Chiefs going into week 16. Bills Patriots.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Bills Patriots and it's Chiefs Texans. Not an easy one for KC.
Chiefs Texans. I mean, listen. I mean, Nico Collins will be back. I don't know, man. There's something about these Texans that just don't.
I agree.
I'm not sold. I'm not sold on the Texans, bro.
I don't trust Houston to win that game. Give it to the Chiefs. Give me the Bills against the Pats. Man, starting to get thin. 14%. Mind you, the Bills are still only one game out, but you're going into the last 2 weeks. Now, this is where it gets interesting, Rico.
Hold on. Did you give us the Bills losing to the Lions?
Yes, the Bills are losing to the Lions currently in this simulation.
Okay, all right.
The Bills are currently 12-3. The Bills are currently 12-3 in this simulation, Rico, and the Chiefs are currently 13-2 in this simulation.
Okay.
Chiefs on Christmas Day going to Pittsburgh. Not an easy place to win a football game.
Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin.
There's a very real scenario to me, Rico, where we're watching the Chiefs on Christmas Day and all we want Santa to bring us is a Steelers W, because I could see it coming down to this, where if the Steelers win and the Bills beat the Jets, week 18 would be for the 1 seed.
Isn't that how it's supposed to play? Isn't that how they always wanted to play out, these a-holes? Give me the Chiefs over the Steelers, and I'll tell you why I choose the Chiefs over the Steelers. I mean, we saw what the Browns were able to do to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was play sound defense. Obviously, there were some miscues that happened in that game, so let's not diminish that at all. But sound defense, they stopped the run, and you're going to need Russell Wilson to will your team forward, to really do what Josh Allen did. Will your team forward. Russell Wilson ain't Josh Allen. So give me the Chiefs over the Steelers. It's just that simple. Now, do I want it to be the other way around? Absolutely. But give me the Chiefs versus Steelers.
Bills over the Jets. The Bills now have a 0% chance to get the 1 seed, apparently, because I guess it doesn't matter going into week 18 with that situation.
I guess not. So now, can you go back and put the Bills to win over the Lions, please?
Okay. That would mean the Bills would run the table up until this point.
Unless they don't really lead the last game in week 18.
You would have a 37% chance going into week 18, and you would need the Bills to beat the Patriots, and you would need the Broncos to beat the Chiefs in order to get the 1
seed. You know
seed.
What? How possible is that? Very.
So if we click Denver and then we click the Bills,
bingo,
that's the 1 seed.
That's how you get it.
The most Billsy thing in the history of all time would be this right here. Would that not define Billsian?
Of course it would.
But that game will be at the same exact time too. It'll be at the same exact time. I think that the Chiefs. So this scenario right here would put both the Bills and the Chiefs at 14-3, meaning the Bills can lose one more. The Chiefs would have lost 2. They would have lost to the Broncos, and who else did we have them losing to? We had them losing to.
I think that was it. Was it not?
No, they would have to lose 2. Because we had we went back and had the Bills running the table. That's what we did. We had the Bills running the table here.
So let's just say we lose to the 49ers. Obviously that skews everything. Let's just say we lose to the 49ers.
Well, in this scenario, yeah. In this scenario, that would immediately give the Chiefs the 1 seed.
Okay, so now let's get into this Lions chatter. Quick second here. Do you truly believe that the Lions are that much better than the Bills? I don't want to say that much better than the Bills, and they'll beat the Bills in that game, because you didn't hesitate. I was curious to see how quickly you would click a win or a loss to the Lions team, and you immediately, very quickly, clicked an L for the Bills against the Lions. Why?
I think the Lions are the best team in the league right now.
Why? What makes them the best team? Because they waxed the Jacksonville Jaguars by putting 50 points on them?
They're waxing everyone.
47 on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, that's got nothing to do with it. They're waxing everybody.
Talk to me.
They're waxing everybody, and when they're throwing 5 picks, they're still beating a playoff team on the road. I mean, Right now, that team is clicking on all cylinders. They got the best running back tandem in the league. They got Jared Goff outside of that 5-pick game, essentially averaging a perfect passer rating a week. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown right now, who I believe has scored a touchdown in like 8 or 9 consecutive games. They have an elite tight end. They also have really nice complementary pieces outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Their defense is elite too, but they're banged up. That's the one thing I noticed with them right now. They're banged up on D.
I'm so glad you're bringing this shit up. I freaking love it. All right, here we go. Because I was going through the roster. You mean hit for hit, and why people are just glazing the Lions so bad, like they the top dogs in this game. And I'm not disrespecting the Lions whatsoever because I think they're a damn good team. But I'm curious as to like what makes them that much more appealing over the Bills. So then I was like, all right, let's go roster for roster, blow for blow. Let's see what was good, right? Jared Goff, Josh Allen. I mean, not really going to go Jared Goff, Josh Allen. Forget about that. We'll leave that for the end. Let's go to the running back room. So they got a big bruiser back. I wouldn't call it big bruiser back, but a very good back in David Montgomery, and they got Jahmyr Gibbs. Would you not say that we have a very similar 1-2 punch with James Cook and Ray Davis, the way we've been running the football?
Oh, I'm not knocking our running back, dude.
I know you're not. I just want to put it out there for everybody so we can sit here and really dissect like what are we really talking about, right? Cool. So you got a speed back, a dynamic back in Jahmyr Gibbs. We got a speed back and a dynamic back in James Cook. I think the whole league would know was really good. David Montgomery, savvy vet in this game. He's been around. He's a top dog. Ray Davis, a rookie, but he gives you the same aspect. Catch the ball out of the backfield, can run between the tackles. We've seen it multiple times. All right, let's move on. And I'm trying to be unbiased here. I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at both of them. Let's go to the receiver room. All right. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown. A slot merchant is what they call Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know Amon-Ra St. Brown is nice. We haven't seen the full potential yet of Khalil Shakir. And Khalil Shakir, you put the ball in his hands, good things happen. So Amon-Ra, Khalil, to me, wash. All right? They wash. Jameson Williams, only coming along now. All right. Amari Cooper. Okay, so now you got them two on the squad. Sam Laporta. I forgot about Sam Laporta. Dalton Kincaid when he gets healthy. All right, bet. Who else do these Lions have that I should be? Hold on. Curtis Samuel. All right, we're starting to see a little bit something from Curtis Samuel. Khalif Raymond. Pardon? I bet. Let's keep it rolling, right? So I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this, and I'm like, there's some similar. This team is very similar to one another. You go to the O-line. This is where you might say this. Okay, maybe the O-line is a little better than the O-line of the Bills. That is debatable. They got that big dog they drafted a couple years back. You can't slide him, right? Osiris Torrance just had a monster game against Chris Jones, one of the best in the game. Held his own, right? Spencer Brown was hurt. Wait till he comes back. You got D-Doc playing awesome this year, other than a couple penalties here and there. Josh Allen has been sacked 13 times this year. Don't talk to me about these Lions about to come out and run the table on us. Man, heck no. We going blow for blow with these guys. All right? So that's on the offense side of the ball. Let's go to the defense side of the ball. All right? So now this is where we might try to say they got some dogs on the squad. Branch. Hell of a safety. I like what I see from Branch, right? You got, and I'm going from the top of my head. I got to look at their Jack Campbell. Old school thud type linebacker. You can't deal with speed from James Cook. Ain't no way. You're not putting Jack Campbell to cover Kincaid, nor are you putting him outside to put him on James Cook. You know what we call that? Milk check, game over. You're not going to do that. You're certainly not going to do that. You got Taron Johnson, all pro. You got Rasul Douglas, and you got my man Benford on the outsides. You got Milano that's going to be coming back very shortly. Could be back for that game. Don't talk to me about the fucking Lions, man. We can play ball. I'm not trying to be too hyperbolic on this thing, but I'm sick and tired of hearing all the Lions are this and that and the third. And then the thing that canceled it all is Jared Goff and Josh Allen. Who you gonna trust with the ball in their hands, ready to go? Give me JA17 all day. Coaching. Love the coach for the Detroit Lions. Love what they're doing. Ben Johnson, love the offensive coordinator that they got over there. Joe Brady's got his own. He's coming on his own. He's coming in on his own. I'll give the slight edge to Ben Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Because he's got this team that nobody was paying attention to not too long ago, and now they're doing big things, hanging 50 points on folks, right? You hanging 50 points. I ain't impressed by you hanging 50 points on Jacksonville Jaguars without Trevor Lawrence. Boy, please. You put 50 points on the Titans. We put 34 on them. A couple more touchdowns, you're at 50 points. Boy, I'm not buying it all. I'm certainly not buying it all. So when the Bills and the Lions start to face off with one another, bro, I'm not swinging. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna put my name on it. Yo, Bills will take down the Lions. Is just what I see it. I see it's gonna happen, and we may run the freaking table. We may, and the way we see that the Chiefs, how the Chiefs are playing, maybe the Chiefs lose a game they're not supposed to lose. Then we end up playing that last game. But like it all depends. That last game, it all depends on how all things shake out. But it got me jacked up and pissed off as people and media. Just talking about how great these Lions are. I mean, they're good, and I'm not going to say about who they play. I'm not going to play that game, right? They're a good squad, but when you go blow for blow and piece for piece, well, we can hang with these boys, man. They got Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs, and so do we. We got our own version of that. So you're going to have to be able to stop that. Now, Aiden Hutchinson, I hear, is coming back potentially. He's working to try to work his way back. He won't be back this game, obviously, but for the playoff time, come playoff, he's working his way back, right? Ali McNeil, defensive tackle in there, solid player, rotational piece. We got some dogs on our side too. You know what I mean? Von Miller's come back into his own. Greg Rousseau's playing like a beast right now. Fam. Terrell Bernard, we got some pieces, man. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. I'm ready for this Lions matchup to happen, but we got to take care of business first. Let's take care of the Rams because that's going to be a tough one as well. Let's take care of the 49ers. I mean, back-to-back, West Coast teams that we got to face. Cool. But I just this Lions thing, man, that shit irks me. That thing irks me. My man said, hold on. What's the minute saying? The minute says, problem is Lions have faster receivers. They're open all the damn time. Who do you think are the receivers for the Miami Dolphins? You got Tyreek Hill, damn near the fastest freaking receiver in the game. And then you got Jalen Waddle. That's got some speed out there. Were we afraid? Did we not play them well? All of a sudden, the defensive scheme changes? What? They got Devin A-Chain. That boy has speed for days. Did that change anything that we had to do? Heck no, it did not. So don't give me they got speed business. I'm not buying it. Not buying it. This defense is predicated to keep things in front of them. And if you want to throw those dink and dunks, you got Terrell Bernard that's going to sit there right underneath, ready for that. Woo! They play with me, man. Don't give me that speed. I don't want to hear this little about the speed. Nah, I'm not playing with that. There's speed all over the league. Speed all over the league. Right? And that's how we playing it. My man said, yo, to be fair, Rico, they have Tua had 4,000 yards passing last year. Like, what are we talking about here? So, like, Jared Goff is far better than Tua? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Is Jared Goff far better than Tua? Just go look at their numbers last year. What are we talking about here, folks? I just can't, man. I just can't. I just don't. I love hearing people talk about these, and it's not me trying to poop on anybody's ideas. I'm just like, I've heard it, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, let me just back it up a little bit. Where do we rank? How are we sitting compared to the Lions? Nah, man. And Goff has these moments where you're like, what? Throw 5 picks against the Bills and see what happens to you. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Come on now. Sorry, I had to get my rocks out because I get annoyed. I get annoyed that the Bills have an opportunity to run this table and go right into the number 1 seed. If we're as focused as we're supposed to be, and if Josh Allen's where we think he is, dialed all the way in and locked all the way in, why can't we run the table? Why can't we?
All right. Let's get into it.
Lock it in.
So, for starters, I don't disagree with the majority of anything you said. I never said, nor do I feel, that the Bills are some sort of like far and away underdog to what the Detroit Lions currently are. I don't look at the Bills as a inferior team to the Detroit Lions. I just think the Detroit Lions are playing the best football in the NFL right now. I don't know how particularly close it is. But if there was one team that is close, however close that might be, it is the Buffalo Bills. That's why I think that game, regardless of what's going on in the seeding or whatever, that is going to be the game of the year in the NFL. That game, for a variety of reasons. One, it could be a potential Super Bowl matchup. Two, with the Eagles right on the heels of the Lions, with the Bills right on the heels of the Chiefs, that game for both of those squads could be potentially for the 1 seed. And then 3, for no other reason other than the fact that those are just the 2 best teams in football right now, those 2 going head-to-head this late in the year. It's the best game on the schedule, regardless of who you're a fan of. Everyone on the planet will be watching that football game. Every single person on the planet. That Bills Chiefs rating was incredible. I wouldn't be shocked at all if this rating wound up outdoing it. But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Let's do it.
Who's the best remaining team on the Bills schedule?
The best, Detroit.
Did you think what the Chiefs did over that 15-game run was impressive? Did you think winning 15 straight games was pretty damn impressive?
You know what? I will say yes. I'll say yes. And I have my reasons for why I say yes. Do you want the reasons now, or do you want to go into
No, I was just wondering if you thought a 15-game win streak was impressive.
Yes.
Like historically impressive.
Correct.
How many games have the Bills won consecutively going into the bye?
Going into the bye.
They have won 6 consecutive games going into the bye.
Oh, yeah. As of right now. Yes, correct.
They have 6 remaining games.
Correct.
If they run the table, that would be 12 consecutive victories.
Mm-hmm.
If they win the Super Bowl, that would be 15 consecutive victories. Exactly what the Chiefs just did, which was historic. That's why you don't see it very often. So you mean to tell me that you envision the Bills winning 15 consecutive football games? And if you do, that's great. I love my Buffalo Bills. I love them. And I think that right now they're playing some of the best football in the league. I don't think they're winning 15 consecutive games. The Detroit Lions are the best team remaining on that schedule. And the reason why doing the simulator and having to find a loss, I choose the Lions because they're the best remaining opponent that these Buffalo Bills will face. That's why I think if there were to be a loss on this upcoming schedule, it would be the Detroit Lions for all the reasons you just mentioned. Because, yes, the Bills are parallel to them in a variety of ways. But what does that make the Lions then? An incredibly damn good football team. It's also in their building, which has become a madhouse ever since they've gotten good. Detroit Lions fans have been waiting as long as we seem to be waiting in Buffalo for that team to have any sort of relevancy.
Is it indoors or outdoors?
Indoors. It's indoors.
All right.
So my whole point, it's not necessarily that I think that the Bills are a guaranteed L there. But logically, I look at it and think, one, the Chiefs just pulled off a 15-game run. I can't remember how long it's been since that happened, but it's been a while. To think that the Bills would do it in the same year that they ended the Chiefs, I mean, man, would it be poetic, but it's hard to imagine. I also wonder, you know, what does that win streak look like going into the playoffs? Because I feel like that's been known to be something that can weigh on the minds of players going into the year. There's a variety of factors here to me that just feel like there's no way in hell that the Bills end up running a 15-game gauntlet like they currently are up against. And I think that the Detroit Lions are far and away the best opponent that they have left remaining. And everything you just said was accurate in a sense that all of those pieces that they have, the Bills do seem to have a counter to it. But Detroit right now, you could argue Amon-Ra St. Brown might be a top 4 receiver. They have the number 1 overall rated offensive line. Jared Goff is right behind Lamar and Josh Allen in the MVP race. They do have the best running back duo in the league. They have a coach that is willing to be aggressive when necessary. I know it's bitten them before, but that's a situation where if it pulls off for them, it's advantageous. Now, of course, That's the same situation with Buffalo, but they're willing to do it. Not every team is. So that's something you got to factor in. And then that defense, if they do get Aiden Hutchinson back, they have been playing incredible defense. So I just look at it from a logic perspective, and I think that as the time goes on throughout the rest of the year, if I have to find one loss for the Bills, it would be Detroit.
All right. Compelling. And most folks might think that you play devil's advocate, and that's what I wanted you to do. And I'm so glad you did that, because I was looking at what Amon-Ra St. Brown's done this year. I was looking at what Jahmyr Gibbs has done this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown's got 685 yards receiving. Off of 60.
I'm not talking strictly stats. That's a guy to me that is one of the most reliable receivers in the league.
I mean, you have him as a.
How many consecutive games has he scored a touchdown, Rico?
Say it again. Sorry.
How many consecutive games has Amon-Ra St. Brown scored a touchdown?
I'm not sure. Did he score a touchdown each game?
Let me look right now. He's on a crazy streak right now.
Now, as you look up, I want to ask you a question as you look up, because I think you're a smart guy. You can multitask. Lions at Colts. Meanwhile, the Lions are on an 8-game win streak right now. They're on an 8-game win streak. Because you asked a very compelling question. Do you think the Bills can run the table? Because if you run the table and they win the whole thing, that's 15 consecutive games won.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions right now are 8 games in on a win streak right now. So
yes.
you got the Colts next. Do you think they take the Colts, or they lose to the Colts?
They're beating the Colts.
I like that. Okay. I think I might be with you on that one. All right. Bears, division game.
They're beating the Bears.
All right. And they haven't faced the Bears this year yet. All right. So the Bears have changed their offensive coordinator. They fired him. Shane Waldron's gone. So they want to simplify the playbook. So we might see a different Bears team. But anyway, I'll give you that, the Bears. Then they face the Packers.
They beat the shit out of the Packers the last time they played them.
All right. So you're saying they're going to beat the Packers again. Then you said they're going to beat the Bills. All right. So now you have the Detroit Lions on a 12-game win streak. Then they face the Bears again. You're saying that they'll beat down the Bears and go. Then you have the 49ers. 49ers, they probably beat the 49ers, would you say?
They might have the 1 seed locked up by then.
That's not what I asked you.
They're better than the 49ers, no question about it.
So they beat the 49ers.
If everybody's out there, yeah, definitely. I'm taking the Lions in that game.
And then they finally have the Vikings. So, and you would say they lose to the Vikings or beat the Vikings, or because the last time they played the Vikings, that game was a 31-29 score.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game. Man,
they've won out. They've won out at that point. So
how many consecutive is
that? That's you had them win 4 here. That's 12, 13, 14. You have 14-game win streak.
Wow.
15 games would make them beat the Vikings heading into the playoffs. But by then, they should have locked up number 1 seed by then, I'm sure, because they're the number 1 seed in the NFC right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably don't. So they probably take an L. Assume so, or maybe they want to run the table.
Well, it's all depending on what Philly does. They're the only one right now that seems to be in their rearview mirror. So
they probably want to win this game.
If Philly is right on their heels, of course they're going to have to.
They're going to have to. So let's just say they go for it. Do they beat the Vikings?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 15 games right there. You did. You gave them 15 wins. Yes. How difficult it is to get 15 wins. Right?
I would tell you right now,
Bills. It was a tough feat for the Bills, but the Lions, you just ripped off. They ran through the table.
Here's the difference. The playoff situation for the Lions, infinitely easier than it will be for the Bills.
You got 4 division, 5 division, 6. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4 division games.
No, the playoffs. Once they get to the playoffs, the Bills, in order to get to that 15-game mark, they would have to win the games in the playoffs and the Super Bowl to get to it. I think that the AFC gauntlet compared to the NFC, it's not even comparable. I think the Lions, unless they meet, they're going to meet. I would be stunned beyond belief if it is not Philly, Detroit in the NFC Championship. I cannot fathom another outcome.
I can't place the Lions on this pedestal. I just can't. I looked at who they played this year, And I'm not saying who did they play. I'm just looking at how they played their teams. Rams first week's a crapshoot, so I don't really count that as much because it is what it is. They played the Buccaneers. They beat them 20-16. Cardinals 20-13. Seahawks 42-29. They whooped on the Cowboys. They got away with it against the Vikings. They waxed the Titans. So did we. They took down the Packers 24-14. I'll give them that because that's a tough game. Texans 26-23, close one. Similar score with us, right? We are very much on the same scale with these boys. So
I agree.
So
that's why that's the one loss to me, because they're just as good. I don't think any of the other teams the Bills play this year are close to the Lions, nor do I think that they're close to the Bills.
Hey, newsflash, pal. We're running the freaking table right to the end of the year. We're going 15.
Well, here's the difference, in my opinion, the biggest difference, regardless of what happens. I think Detroit gets to the Super Bowl, but it doesn't matter. I think regardless of who makes the Super Bowl out of the AFC, they're winning it. I don't care who it is. Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, AFC is winning the Super Bowl. The NFC, to me, is not good enough to win the Super Bowl.
You're locking it in?
I don't trust. It's weird. I have a lot of respect for Detroit, and I think they're the best team in football right now. I don't know why. It's weird. I don't even know if I can explain it. I don't trust them in the Super Bowl. I don't know how to explain it. The AFC seems so much more battle tested that I feel like that will wind up coming to the forefront in the Super Bowl. Now, just to clarify, I had to play devil's advocate, but to think that I'm sitting looking at that Lions game thinking automatic out, there's no way in hell. That just is the game to me that is by far the most losable. And I guess my brain cannot allow me to fathom a 15-game win streak for the Bills. I can't wrap my mind around it.
Why not? You wrapped your mind around it rather quickly with the Detroit Lions.
Because I'm a Bills fan. It's easy for me to just rattle off Detroit wins. It's probably easier for them.
I get it. I'm not even mad at you. I get it.
That is not that's scheduled for them to end though. The Bills, that's by far their toughest. I mean, that's the thing here. That I guess the beauty of this game, it will be the truest test for both these teams before heading into the postseason.
Bro, the Lions have a tough schedule themselves. Like the league has set it up pretty well, man. Because they got to face the Packers again. I can tell right now, Packers are going to be healthier. At the time they played the Packers weren't as healthy. It was Buddy coming back from a knee, and he's trying to get back together. Bro, Packers, they got to face the Bears with a new offensive coordinator, and the Bears.
Stop talking about the Bears like they're something.
I'm going to talk about the Bears.
No,
I am.
They're going to wax the shit out of Chicago. Beat the brakes off them again.
They haven't played yet this year.
Oh, so, no, I meant I keep thinking of Green Bay with it. They're going to beat the hell out of Chicago, though.
No, they haven't played. No, I am going to put the Bears in there because they got to pick the Bears twice and the Packers they got to face. Bro, the Lions are taking a couple L's before they freaking get to the end of it.
How many? Give me the L's on there. Besides Buffalo,
they're losing to the Bills. They're losing to the Packers. And they're losing to the Vikings. They're losing 3.
So they're not going to be the 1 seed then. You got Philly being the 1 seed then.
Might as well. Let me see what Philly's working with. We got to be fair here. Let's take a look. And I kind of like these conversations because like they're unbiased. We're Bills fans talking about, other squads, but we can unbiasedly talk about it. We have no horse in the race, if you will. Who am I looking for? You said the Lions? Who's I looking for? Philly. Yeah. Let's see what Philly's working with their remaining schedule. So Philly, remaining schedule: Rams, Ravens, Panthers, Steelers, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. Yo, they could easily take that. So they just took down the Commanders. They got the Rams next, which is going to be a tough one. That's going to be a nice one. It's a Sunday night. Is that a Monday nighter?
For the Bills or the Lions?
Rams. The Rams and Philly. Philly and Rams.
Oh, that's a Sunday night football game this weekend.
Sunday night. All right. So, yeah, we're 22nd, 23rd, 24th. That's right. So, Rams, then they face the Ravens. That'll be an interesting one. And that, like I said, it'll be interesting for the Ravens as well. If they really want to freaking run the table on their end, which they need to, here we go. Panthers, a damn joke. Steelers, Philly's got to face the Steelers. That'll be a fun one.
This is a tough schedule.
I'm telling you, every these last 6 games remaining for these teams, the schedule makers really did a number. They really did a number, man. It's gonna be a tough one altogether. I mean, I'm looking at the Rams right now. If I were to tell you what these Rams, they'll be facing the rest of the year, the Rams are 5-5 right now. They're 5-5, and the Rams' remaining schedule goes like this: Eagles, Saints, Bills, Niners, Jets, Cardinals, Seahawks. We'll see. So Sunday night game and Monday night game will be 2 great games. There she is. She's happier because she's got all her money in the bank. She ain't stressing. We good. I can't hear what she's saying. Not a word can be heard. No, you're still muted.
I'm muted. Right,
oh, money's up. I got him a 24-pack of Diet Coke, and I got myself an 8-pack of mini Diet Cokes.
Those are great.
And he drank all the 24-pack, and he started touching and going through my 8-pack of minis that I conserve for work.
You ripped through 24?
I think it was a 32-pack.
Oh crap!
I got a serious problem. I only wanted a tiny one. I didn't want the whole.
This is my
shebang.
This is my 3 a.m. treat.
Do you think the Bills are running the table?
Yeah. Sometimes I think the Chiefs are too, though.
No, the Chiefs can't. The Bills already beat them. They can't run the table.
Hey, Bills.
Listen, I got to tell you, Rico, if they run the table and win 15 straight, win the Super Bowl, she might have. We might have to retire after that.
Yo, the Bills are running the table, man. That's it.
Okay, so if they retire, if they win 15 straight and win the Super Bowl, what more? What are we ever going to do again?
Shut it down, man. We're shutting this whole channel down. That's it. It's over with.
I mean, we might have to shut the shit down. I don't think it would even be. I could never replicate what that would be. How could I ever replicate that emotion?
You're not going to replicate it because we're going to go one game at a time. It's not going to feel like we ripped off 15. We're one game at a time. You know, Josh. You know what Josh said. One game at a time. And I'm so glad you pointed out if you looked at Josh Allen's face, you would never think that we were up 9. I'm so glad you pointed that out because other people started pointing it out as well, how miserable he looked. But that's a man that also has PTSD saying it ain't over until it's completely over or there's 000 on the clock. I ain't resting on anything until I see 000 and a W next to my Bills logo. That's it. real talk, man. By the way, go ahead.
The one thing that
retire, run it back, baby. Let's go.
It's easy for us to sit here and talk about the Niners, Rams, Lions stretch there. What say you to those who are waiting for the Billsian loss? Because we are set up on a pedestal the last 3 weeks for one of them, right? And it happens every year. It hasn't happened this year. Now, granted, they haven't played New England yet, but they did sweep Miami. They beat the Jets despite allowing a Hail Mary at halftime, right? Is there any part of you that low-key looks at that latter 3 part of the latter 3 games of the schedule and says, oh my God, I could see him losing vision and dropping one of those? Because to me, if we're going to lose the 1 seed, Rico, it better be to the Lions. If we lose the 1 seed because they lose to Drake May or Aaron Rodgers, I honestly, to God, I might have to.
No, you're not.
You fill in the blank. Fill in the blank.
So, you asked me, talk to a fan. What was that? You said talk to me.
I just keep seeing people say, well, the Bills are still due for their Billsy loss.
Well, I'm talking to one right now, so I'll talk to you because you feel that the Bills.
I'm undecided. No,
you're not undecided. You are decided. The minute you click the Lions to lose to win against the Bills, you're decided. So let me help you, sir.
No, they're losing one game. I that's the one I decided on.
Let me help my homie. Let me help my homie out. That's my guy, man. Z-Bot, DC Bot, Diet Coke Bot.
Talk to me.
Bot. You know what I mean? Let me talk to my guy, Bot. This might be the year that isn't normal. You know what is normal for Bills? Josh Allen throwing pick after pick after pick after pick after pick after pick after pick. Has he done that? Heck no. Do you see any drama in Buffalo? No. So this might be the year that there is none of that. There is no Billsian loss. This might be the year that we actually handle our business and go do what we need to do. The focus is on. Now,
so this is the year. This is the year where all of the Bills bullshit the demons get exercised.
Hey, maybe, just maybe. Now, I will say this though. Let's just say the Bills do not get the number 1 seed. Let's just say they don't. Because there's something that I feel about teams that have number 1 seeds is they go cold, right? You have a whole bye week. Everybody else is playing and warmed up and all this stuff. Obviously, you stay healthy when we have the bye week. But I have my ways about this bye week thing, right? Where it's like you're cold and this team is just hot. They ripped off 6 wins in a row or whatever the case is, and now they're facing your squad. We have an opportunity to still do work, right? Still be at home with the number 2 seed and host and so on and so forth and all that stuff. We know what we have to do, whether it's on the road or at home. We're going to still take down the Chiefs. I still wholeheartedly feel it. I don't feel like the Chiefs are that team where we're so worried about them or we're so shook by them. No, sir. I still feel that we got it. And this might be the year that those Billsian losses and the stupid BS that usually happens to us doesn't happen. And to boot, we're getting healthier. The defense will be looked at completely differently. We will get Amari Cooper back. That's going to get a lot more touches as he gets healthier without a stupid cast on his hand. We will receive Keon Coleman sometime soon. We will be at full capacity to take on these squads. Why not us? I feel like I'm Pierre right now. Why not?
I want it so bad.
Me too, brother. Me too.
Would there not be part of you that would be like extra nervous winning every regular season game going into the playoffs?
Yeah, like you wouldn't be a normal Bills fan if you weren't. You wouldn't be a normal Bills fan to be like, oh, this is normally when we start to screw up. Things are going too great. We do that as in human nature. We do that when things are going too great in life for you. You're kind of like, wait a minute, what's happening? This is too good. I mean, we do that naturally. So when you're rooting for a team that you love so much and you're like, man, yo, these are great. Sometimes you just got to roll with it. You guys got to roll with it. And right now, these Bills are rolling with it one game at a time. One game at a time. I
got to say, I can't put my finger on it. There is just something different about the team. Whether that culminates in a different outcome is another thing, but it just something feels different. And it's got nothing to do with that Chiefs win. It's got something to do with the aura of the team.
You don't want to commit.
I cannot commit to this team winning out.
Commit, baby.
I can't do it. My brain will not allow me to do it.
Yeah.
The idea of that is so absurd that I literally can't bring myself to say it. That's what I'm telling you. That's why I'm telling you if it happened.
That's why you want to keep it to a point where you're like you almost have to keep it as one game at a time. That's the only way to keep yourself sane and not get too ahead of ourselves to think, oh, here we go. One game at a time, man. That's it. Like my wife Jenna always gets mad at me. We might have a trip set up. We might have something that's happening that's really exciting for us, right? I don't know. Buying a new house, right? When we bought our new house just a few years ago, she was like, when we moved into a new house, excuse me, aren't you excited that we bought our new house? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty excited. Why aren't you excited? Like getting crazy. I was like, until I can move my things into the house, I got the keys and I can go and lock the door and I'm excited then. Until then, I always expect some BS to happen, a delay or this or that. We'll wait till we get in there. So as Bills fans, we have to just take it one win at a time. We get too ahead of ourselves, bro. We're gonna be disappointed. We'll disappoint ourselves. We'll do it to ourselves.
You know, it would be crazy if the Bills beat the Chiefs twice in 1 year and then beat the Lions twice in 1 year too. How insane would that be to win it?
Destiny.
That would be one of the more remarkable runs to do it ever.
Wouldn't that be?
Yeah, because you have to beat the best team in the AFC for historically here, ever since Brady's retired. You'd have to beat them twice. Then you'd have to beat the current best team in the NFC twice in order to do it. That would be nuts.
But this is why when you asked me earlier if 15 wins in a row is exceptional, it is exceptional, because what you have to realize is when you're a Bills team in the AFC East, or you're the Chiefs in the AFC West, right, or you're the Lions in the AFC North that were knocking on the door to go to the Super Bowl. They're hungry. They're just as hungry to run it back and try to make the Super Bowl, because they're that close to going against the San Francisco 49ers. That close. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is this. When it comes down to it, you're getting everyone's best. This is why it was so impressive for Jordan to go six wins straight, 6 championships straight. Now, the talent, albeit, wasn't as great as the talent is now in the NBA or a few years back. But, bro, you're getting everybody's best. Can you imagine the Kansas City Chiefs winning 15 straight and finally losing to the Bills, and now going to use this as motivation to kind of run it back to get a third? They're trying to three-peat. They're getting everyone's best. That's impressive as shit. So, yes, it is absolutely impressive for the Bills to go and win it 15 in a row, because right now we're getting all the best. We're getting everybody's best. You don't think Detroit's, although they're the number 1 team, but they keep hearing about Josh Allen this and Josh Allen that. I'm telling you, Josh Allen's name pisses a lot of people off. It pisses a lot of people off. I'll tell you that right now. So the Detroit Lions are hearing, yeah, we're number 1, but Josh Allen, why is Josh Allen still in all these buzz, man? We got a quarterback right here, Jared Goff. That's sick, right? They got all these things, man. We got Jahmyr Gibbs. They're just as tight and ready to get this thing as all of us, right? So yeah, it's gonna be tough as hell. We just gotta take it one game at a time, man.
The story arc of the Bills snapping the 15-game win streak of the Chiefs to then win the Super Bowl to get their 15th consecutive win would be one of the most insane sports stories ever, to me.
Yeah,
I think you're on to something. You're trying to lead me to water. I can't drink it, but man, would I love to. I mean, man, well, I every week I will drink a glass of it. That's what I'm saying. I'm excited though. I'm excited for this 3-game stretch here because
we should be excited and be excited about. I mentioned all the, like, when we were going toe to toe, when I was explaining how we can go toe to toe with the Detroit Lions in terms of the weapons they have on their squad, bro. I didn't even mention Keon Coleman.
Yep.
Keon, Khalil, Cooper, Curtis, Kincaid. You feel me? Like, what do you mean, Cook? Jeez, man. Come on now.
They're set up. I mean, there's no one denying that. They are set up. This is the best team that they've had.
Don't go there. It's not the best
2020, I would say. I think it is. I think it is.
But 2020 was that team.
I think this is Josh Allen's. I think this might be his best team. The 2020 team didn't have it didn't feel like the defense was up to stuff like it feels like it is right now. Defense got cooked by the Chiefs in that AFC Championship.
Yeah, we didn't stop a damn thing. We couldn't stop a damn nosebleed, but neither could they. So what are we gonna do?
They just weren't as developed then. Like the Bills, it just didn't feel. It felt like they were a year ahead that year. It's crazy how they haven't gotten back.
Just imagine Nate Peterman with these weapons. Whoo! What a dangerous quarterback.
We'd already have two. We'd already have two by now.
Walter's an idiot.
We had a couple of super chats, by the way, we missed. Mitch coming in. Mitch, a.k.a. the lead Robster. Happy to be sanguine for avoiding the denouement of the season. Go Bills. I will not say go Buckeyes. Go Hoosiers. BF is the best channel on YouTube. Hit the horn. Rico doesn't have his horn with him, but we can do some better. There you go, Mitch. We'll get you a real horn when we're back at the crib. When Rico's back at the crib. Tyler's saying he's got the Chiefs losing to the Panthers. Tyler, send me the bet slip. Send me the bet slip. I want to see your proof. Thaddeus, Denver might have to beat KC week 18. So that to me is the ultimate insanity, like the ultimate scenario. So say the Bills do win. Now, this is the crazy thing, Rico. Say the Bills do run the table. If the Chiefs also run the table, the Bills still don't get
which I don't understand. I don't understand because we have the head-to-head.
But the Chiefs would only have one loss on the whole year.
Oh, You're right. Touche. I keep forgetting about that.
So could you imagine it in the window? At the same time, the Bills are playing the Patriots, and the Chiefs are playing the Broncos. One seed on the line in both games. It would be an insane scenario. But I think that the losing opportunities to me for the Chiefs, I think the Chargers, the Steelers, I don't trust the Texans. Those are the two games to me I think that we have the best chance for the Chiefs to drop one. But
Yeah,
Denver showed us they're capable of doing it. But would they be able to do it? Like, could they beat the Chiefs in what would be a playoff game for them? Because that would be a playoff game for the 1 seed.
I think defensively, Denver is pretty damn good. And Bo Nix under Sean Payton is playing good ball, man. They're playing good ball. You got to give them credit for it. They're doing well. Yo, I'm not sleeping on the Denver Broncos, man. Not sleeping on the Broncos. Yo,
I'm not either.
I'm not a fan of Sean Payton. I think he's a douchebag, especially based on his time back with Greg Williams with the whole the whole freaking what was the thing, the bounty and all that stuff. And then on top of it, when he aired out all the coaches like publicly, and he was disrespecting Russell Wilson. I'm not a fan of that dude, right? Based on those things, but he can coach. He got his guy, and Bo Nix is wheeling and dealing. He might even put his name in for Rookie of the Year. Keep messing around. Bo Nix might win the whole thing, man.
If Jaden Daniels plays like he played last week and he keeps playing like you're right, he could pull. I mean, he'd be like the last horse in the race that all of a sudden started around in the corner. But he's been playing real well. They kicked the shit out of the Falcons this past weekend. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Atlanta, by the way, man, Kirk Cousins, it's the same thing everywhere he goes. It's the same thing everywhere he goes, essentially. It's just like middle of the pack football. And I like Kirk Cousins, but that's just what Atlanta is.
Middle of the pack football.
GQ, it's about avoiding the Ravens in the playoffs until the AFC Championship. Yep.
You know what? No, it's not about avoiding Ravens. Bring on the Ravens again. We did not play well that game. We did not. I guarantee
there's not a single bit of you. There's not a single part of you in this whole rant about the Bills winning a full regular season's worth of games consecutively that does not go back to what you saw on that night against the Ravens. There's no part of it.
Just a bad game altogether. Bad game. And we caught the Ravens on a 1-2 record. They lose that game. They were already looking at like, holy crap, what's going on? So their backs were against the wall. We just faced a team that was very, very motivated, and we came out flat-footed. Simple as that. We faced these Ravens, and they certainly ain't doing that shit again to us.
Bella's kind of bringing this up. I wonder what it would be like what that Ravens-Bills game would be like if it was in Buffalo, which it likely would be, and there was a snowstorm. Like, what would that? I don't know if that favors the Ravens like maybe you think it would. That would be interesting.
I don't think it does either. Josh is not afraid to throw the ball in the snow. Somebody mentioned this the other day where they're like, yo, people think that when the snow, and you'll remember this one, I'll remind you of it. Once it snows, it changes the whole dynamic of the game. It's going to be a run game. It's going to be a very defensive game plan. Go back to when the Patriots played the Tennessee Titans in that Snow Bowl game. And Tom Brady lit up the Titans for 59 points or something stupid. He was throwing the rock all over the place in the snow. I don't fall for that. Josh Allen's one of those guys that doesn't fall for that either. He will throw that rock if need be. Don't like bring on the weather. We brought that guy here for that reason.
Well, Josh did it to the Patriots in the wild card. Belichick.
You saw that? Minus 50, whatever the thing is, a perfect game. Stop playing with me, man. Don't play with my quarterback.
But I don't think it's an advantage for the Bills. I just wonder if it's also a disadvantage for the Ravens. I don't know. My point was I don't know if it favors anybody in there, but I wonder if it disadvantages the Ravens more because I don't know if Lamar is going to sling it like that in the snow. I don't know.
We'll
but Derrick Henry, that he becomes a big bulldozer in that type of game, right? Where it's just freezing cold out. Tackling him's a bitch to begin with, much less in the freezing cold. Scott saying if the Bills win against San Francisco next week and Miami loses next week, the Bills clinch the division. Is that
Scotty? What's the simulator saying? Is that what the simulator is saying? For division?
I guess that would be true, right? Because then you would only have. So what do they have? They have 4 wins, and there would only be 5 games remaining after that, and the Bills would already have 10 wins. Yeah, that would probably do it.
That would clinch it. That's an early clinch. Now we just got to focus. We just got to focus on getting that number one.
Man.
Yeah.
That's where my focus is, and it starts against San Fran. I'm interested to see. So now there's a rumor, or I guess it's not a rumor, it's just being speculated that Brock Purdy might not play against the Packers this Sunday. So I'm interested to see what the deal is there, because I want to be able to see what the Niners look like in that game, because every big spot they've been in this year, man, they have folded.
Who's Brock Purdy's backup?
CJ Beathard?
Is Beathard still in the freaking league?
I'm just kidding. There's no way it's CJ Beathard.
I was like, I'll find out. I'm gonna take a look. My man says CJ Beathard. It might actually be CJ Beathard.
Brandon Allen.
There you go.
Josh Allen's. Oh, they have Josh Dobbs too. I forgot about that.
Dobbs went to the 49ers?
I think so.
56 receptions, 599 yards of receiving, 2 touchdowns, 10.7 yards of reception. That is our guy, Khalil Shakir. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 684 yards to 599 for our guy. So listen, man, we got ourselves a certified.
Wait, didn't St. Brown? Did he miss a? Did he miss a game, or am I bugging?
I'm not sure. I don't pay too much attention to that squad, but it's always. Listen, we love talking Bills, and this is what I love about this audience that we have. On Fridays, you guys already know what time it is, man. We don't just stick to the Bills. Obviously, our show is Bills centric. However, we dabble around the league, and that's what I love when me and my man Bot come through, and we can just hit on everything. And sometimes I'll play the devil's advocate. Sometimes he will, and I'm trying to lead my brother to the water, but he's saying, not yet. Let me just take a sip. Let me take a sip.
I want to drown in it. I want to drown in it. I do. I want to drown in all of it, and I hope I do. I hope I'm fully submerged in it.
There you go, big guy.
In about a month and a half, I hope I'm just
buddy
neck deep in that water. That's what I'm hoping.
I already told wifey, man, the minute my team and I hear AFC Conference Champions, bro, we're gonna make our way. We're gonna make our way. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be. Listen, I don't know if I'm gonna go to Buffalo to watch the Super Bowl in Buffalo. I don't know what it's gonna be. But we're gonna try to make something happen, baby. And if I hear the Buffalo Bills are your 24-25 Super Bowl champs, bro.
What do you even do? What do you do in that moment?
No.
Like, what if it came down? What if it came down? Like, what about this? Same scenario as the Dolphins game, 61-yarder. Like, what are you doing in that moment?
Is it to win it?
To win it, of course.
To win it, we're down. Are we tying it? To win it? What is it?
To win it. To win it.
Everything hangs on to. Oh man, I would not want to be Tyler Bass in that situation.
Tom Brady on the call too, by the way. Which is like, could it be more ironic?
Oh, buddy. Hey.
And Kevin Burkhardt says, and it all comes down to the leg of Tyler Bass, a 61-yard field goal to give the Buffalo Bills their first Super Bowl victory in franchise history. And then he goes silent. Kevin Burkhardt goes silent. He lets the crowd do the work.
Oh, we're like this. This is what we're doing.
Could you even look?
Oh, heck yeah, I'm looking. I'm looking. I don't want the audio. I want the visual. I want to see it go right down the middle. Boom. And I want to see Josh Allen run onto the field with his helmet. Toss the helmet. F the helmet. Run onto the field. I don't know who's going to hug first. Actually, they're probably going to go dial in for Tyler Bass. Oh, boy.
Dude, Tyler Bass would have to go on IR after that because there's no way he's surviving the scrum after that. There's no way.
He's done.
Dude, I just think about this shit all the time. Like, I really don't. I like to think I know what I do. I do not know what I would do.
You just sit in disbelief. The same way we lost it to 13 seconds where you sat there going.
No, but that low key ruined my life. I still haven't recovered from that. Well, so what?
It'll be the defibrillator, get you back up and ready to go, baby.
And then what do you do the days after? Like, you just gotta go nuts.
You'll walk out with your chest out, chin up. You know what I mean?
For days.
Buddy, I'd be Jersey guy every day. I'd pull out the OJ Simpson jersey, walk around this bitch. I'm gonna have to be tattoo guy after that. You might have to be tattoo forehead guy. Sure.
Caroline told me she'd leave me, but that's the price I'm willing to pay.
Yeah, right.
Shout out Richie. I'm gonna get 59 tatted somewhere.
tatted right on that neck.
Oh my God! All right, hey,
it's good time.
You good?
It's good to get these things out of the way, and then we get back to reality.
So you're away for the whole you through the week, or
no, just for the I'm back on Monday night, and then back for Tuesday show, and then we go from there. From there.
Oh, the bye week did cruise by, which is nice, and it was a much needed bye week. This is the nice thing about getting a victory like they did.
True.
And then needing the bye when they did. Usually I hate the bye week. I'm like, it just like totally drags on, but this didn't feel that way. This felt like a very, very like celebratory bye week. And it's not even really because, I mean, the Chiefs win help, but just knowing what's on the other side in terms of the health and being able to have gotten to this check mark with the record that they did with that in mind, you can't help but just be like stoked that the bye week came when it did and just enjoy it until they get into this gauntlet here.
Well, Bella Rose says she's with you. She says, I'm 61 and I will get my first tattoo if we win a Super Bowl.
Hell yeah, Bella. I don't know where you live at, but maybe we can get an appointment together and get it added up.
Be like, give me that tattoo right on that lower back, right there. That's where I want it, right there. I hope not.
Would you do it? Would you do it?
Get a tattoo? No, heck no.
No chance.
I'm not a tattoo guy. Tattoo guy, not for me.
I'm not either. That's why I'm wondering.
Yeah. You know what? If we win the Super Bowl, I'm shaving everything. Shave the head, shave the whole facial hair. That's it.
Why would you punish yourself? You got to do something celebratory.
I don't know, because I'd lose my mind. I'd be like, "Whoa, done."
My only dilemma I've ever grappled with them winning it is I will go legitimately broke. There will not be a thing I will not buy that doesn't say Bills Super Bowl champion. I will have to. I have to have it. I will go in debt.
The Bills merch store is going to be sold the heck out. The heck. They're not one thing is going. Their coasters are going to be gone. The most insignificant, stupid thing that you buy for Bills at the Super Bowl, they'll sell it for. It'll be like airport prices for something as dumb.
Oh yeah, and it'll be gone. I mean, that's such. I didn't even think about that. Like every time these teams win championships, I don't think all these fan bases like flood the site like this would be. I mean, this would be insane. I haven't even thought about that.
Here's one for you. Bills win the Super Bowl. Are you in for? I don't know how you feel about. I don't know how you feel about statues. A statue of Josh Allen outside the new stadium if we win a Super Bowl.
Build that thing 25 feet tall. I want that thing 4 times as tall as the buffalo they're putting out front of the new stadium. You can give one to him. You can give Shawnee Mick one. You can give Bean one. You can give Terry one. Hell, you can give
around the stadium with stadium. Just there's everybody out there.
Dude, you can give the guy working the hot dog stand one for all I give a damn. Anybody involved with it, give him one. But of course,
listen, Brock Campbell, Christmas ornaments, $49.50, $49.99, done. I'm buying. Everybody buying it.
And I'll have that damn Christmas tree up year round. I'll have that thing up year round. You know what would be a sick statue if they did do that? Kelly and Allen in front of the stadium, and you kind of had like it kind of emblemizes the process that it took to get from that to the triumph of the other one. I think that would be kind of cool.
I'm such a hater. I'd be like, I don't want that stench to even join this.
You don't want the 90s. You don't want the 90s anywhere around.
That was at the other stadium. You know what I mean? Hold on. Do you bring that Ralph statue that's outside? Do you bring that over to the new stadium?
You got to. Yeah, I think so. Right?
Do you? I mean, I don't know.
I would imagine.
I mean,
the original owner. Yeah, you got to. I think you'd have to.
I suppose. I mean, I guess you can bring it in. Bring it with you. Put it in the back of the stadium. We'll be all right.
I mean, I didn't even think about that either.
Listen, man.
But the statue game's new. It wasn't really. It hasn't always been like this. They're doing a lot of those now. So I think that would definitely happen.
Well, the way they've been building these statues these days, I mean, go ask D Wade on what the hell they
Holy hell. Oh my God. My man looked like the dude from The Matrix there.
Buddy. He looked at Morpheus for crying out loud. Stop it.
It was bad.
But that's the way I look at it, man. But it's gonna be fun, man. Listen, one game at a time. That's how we gotta take it, man. All the chatter is great. One game at a time. One game at a time.
No doubt about it. And I can't wait for next week, baby. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Hey, on your way out the door, by the way, before the Bills get back into action, get in on the Allen MVP odds, because if he lights it up, I always say this, and I don't even need to tell you, I'm sure you know. If Allen goes out Sunday Night Football and balls out against San Fran on the biggest stage of the day, these MVP numbers are going to skyrocket even further than they already have. He's plus 150 right now. Get in on it before the plus money goes away on BetUS. Promo code YouTube150. Get you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next two after that. Interesting scenario with that, Rico, by the way.
Yeah.
Because Lamar has a really big moment on Monday night in the Harbaugh Bowl. Big one.
Oh, that's right.
That's a big one for both those teams. Dude, if the Ravens lose that, they're 7-5.
I know. And they cannot afford to lose anymore after that. And they may. They still got to face the Steelers again. Bro, I'm telling you, they keep effing around. They might find themselves like us at 1% to make the playoffs, and they got to win everything else, man. Yo, it's not.
Now that would be
these Ravens, man. How the high and mighty have fallen. How quickly. By the way, folks, before you do get out of this room, if you love what we do and you appreciate the shows that we put on, and you actually engage in our conversation, we appreciate it. We love it. And if you want to support us even more, www.supportbf.com. Everything is there, from the merch to the websites. And if you want to even donate to the cause and for us to kind of put back into the show by getting new cameras, new laptop, and new equipment.
Well, we got to fund that Super Bowl merch fund I was just talking about, Rico, because the budget, it's going to be infinite. It's going to be infinite.
It's going to be infinite. I'm telling you, right? So www.supportbf.com. Hit us up. That'd be amazing. And we will go from there, man. So
I got so excited I kicked myself out.
Yeah, it's all good, brother. We got it, man. So show some love, man. We appreciate every one of y'all, man. Like, you guys hang out with us always. We may not be the analytical ones, and we're not breaking film down, but one of the days maybe we will. But we do engage in good conversation, and that's what I like. And that's why my man Z-Bot and I love what we do, man. It's fun. It's fun times. And one of these days we'll be doing even bigger things sometime soon. So we appreciate y'all. You guys
love what we do, and we love the people we do it with, folks. We love you all joining us on a Friday afternoon. Well over 1,000 of you here on Rico and Bot. On a Friday afternoon, enjoy a stress-free weekend of football. You only get one a season. This is that one. Bills are resting up. You should too. Niners are next week, and we can't wait for it. Looking forward to seeing you the next time we're on with you. Until then, enjoy your Friday night. Enjoy your weekend. Much love as always. And go Bills.
Go Bills.